Okay, I think we're good. Just a little impromptu podcast with Cody here. Talk about Star Citizen, what it's been like recently. What's 4.9 been like? What do we think 4.10 is going to be like? Are we looking forward to Siege of Orison? Have we tested Siege of Orison? Spoilers, I haven't. And then after that, just kind of give our thoughts on where we think this is all headed. And if it'll be good or not. Y'all know Cody. If you don't, you're dicks. You should. Cody's awesome.
What the hell? Everybody should know me. I'm
what
such
do you
a
mean
cool
you
guy.
don't know him? How dare you? How dare you? But no.
Right.
Today is a bit more relaxed and chillaxed of a podcast. Really just talk about the game and what it's been like. I had taken a bit, as some of you know, if you're paying attention, I took a little bit of a break. It was not at all because of Star Citizen. It was entirely because of life.
It was Star Citizen.
He's lying. Don't believe him. He's full of shit. No, but no, it was, life got in the way. Things are finally getting better. A small accident that just brought up a lot of little issues and flared some stuff up. So I've been dealing with that. And I don't know what to tell you guys because the doctors haven't told me what's going on yet. So when I know, I'll let you know. But today we've got Cody coming back, who is, as you know, is a recurring character here.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Thank you.
Chill dude.
Thanks for having me on again.
Of course, anytime. But yeah, so today we're going to talk about how our Star Citizen experience has been over the last month, because Cody and I did a podcast together a couple months ago. And so since then, Cody, which coincides with 4.8's release,
Mm-hmm.
how's been your Citizen stars?
I've been living vicariously through other people. So I didn't touch 4.8. Maybe logged in once or something, but I really didn't get into anything in 4.8 and or 4.9. I'm looking at 4.10 tentatively. I might jump in and try the Siege of Orison because I'm really interested to see how the instancing works. And from what I've seen other people, there's been some early on issues. So my overall experience has just been through other people, and they have all kind of taken a step back because of frustrations with the game. I've seen a lot of veteran players, veteran to me, being somebody that's been in the game for a little over like a full year, like year and a half of just game time. I've seen these veteran players step back from the game just because of the issues they've been running into. And I've got nothing specific like issues wise. It's just the usual bugs that people run into, stuff disappearing, things not like commands not going through, having to wait for them to go through, being unable to do certain tasks, stuff like that. And we still have Aussie Viking asking about my volume.
I don't know why you guys are having such issues with his volume, because when I listen to my own stream, it is not an issue. So let's boost him a little bit.
About 8 decibels and see if that helps a little bit.
All right, I just made you way louder. That should.
I want to listen to myself too.
Sound louder than I do now on the thing. So I don't know what to tell you guys. If you're having issues, we're all clipping now, which is exactly what I was trying to avoid.
Yeah, you don't want that.
All right.
I am kind of a soft speaker at times, so I don't know. That's just my nature.
I can either be very loud or a little too soft.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Both talk at the same time.
We've
over
been doing that.
All right. Testing.
See, for me now, Cody is way louder than I am. This is where
I'm definitely louder in my own ear. I mean, when I turn this down, it turns my mic down.
Okay, cool, Tonic. All right.
Some with equal to me. Okay, well,
There we go.
there
We're
it is.
good. Back to Matterhand. So you've taken a step back, and
Mhm.
I mean, so you're part of an org. You tend to play with a group of people, and you mentioned that most of them stopped or are still currently not playing. Is that still true, or are you seeing people come back to the game now? Are people talking about 4.10 positively? What's the general feeling there on your end?
The general feeling, sentiment around the game, I think, is it's going to be more of the same old, same old. Some people are excited about the instancing and seeing Siege of Orson come back. But I think I've seen a lot of people play the game substantially less, just out of frustration with how much time it takes to get into the game and, for things to go wrong and how often that happens. So I think player sentiment of the game is turning towards the negative, and I've seen a lot of that too, in the forums, on Spectrum, across Reddit, even comment sections on Twitter posts or TikTok posts, stuff like that. I kind of keep my eye on it just to gauge the community and what's happening, but right now I'm not seeing a whole lot of positivity. I'm seeing people start to really question things for the most part. I mean, there still is the crowd that's out there that remains positive about the game because they believe in the project, and then you're seeing some new faces come onto the game, and they have that sort of honeymoon period that they run into.
Yeah, and that honeymoon period can last anywhere between like 6 months to a year. In some extreme cases, a bit longer. I also think it depends on how much time those people invest into the game. If you're somebody who can only invest a dozen hours into the game a week compared to people who drop 30, 40 hours a week, your your honeymoon period might last a little longer than most. But I think or quickly, just to go off of what Vikings saying. So instancing, pretty sure was always going to be a thing in Star Citizen. I think what happened is originally the idea, the concept for Star Citizen was something that was actually heavily instance, kind of think Starfield. And then when they decided to elaborate and expand, it became an open world everything sandbox. And they were trying to avoid instancing, but before it was supposed to be, you come to a planet, there's an animation, think Mass Effect. Instance or segmented in the way that there are loading screens, multiple areas you have to go through, that where it's, let's just call it scripted. So like one of the things in Mass Effect, you'd show up to a planet, you'd see an animation of the ship going down to the surface and landing, or dropping the Mako and leaving. So there was this idea that Star Citizen was supposed to have that the very beginning of its concept, but that changed and became the open world stuff, and then went back to now they realize that technically they're super limited, and having everything be an open world sandbox and try to achieve 1,000+ players is just impossible.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that with any MMO. You're going to have some level of instancing.
It makes sense. Like, yes, we'd all like to have a DayZ experience, right? Because DayZ is a true open world. There is no instancing. Everything is going on at the same time, right? But you're also talking about a much smaller scale and a game that's trying to do way less. Yeah, it's a survival, but there are no spaceships. Like, if you've ever tried to drive a vehicle in DayZ, you know that this is something that game cannot do properly. So I think if people are just constantly taking pieces of other games and trying to apply them here, that doesn't always work. I think the other thing is, you mentioned a lot of people are negative about the game right now. I think that's true, but we're still beating funding records month over month. Like, it's a little insane to think that the game is in its state, but they just cannot stop racking in the cash.
So, just to shoot a question back at you, do you think it's a vocal minority that's negative about the game then?
No,
Because it seems to be, I mean, it definitely feels like a large part of the community, but, people are still, they're still in it. There's, like you said, they're still buying ships. They're still setting record sales.
because the thing you can't measure is apathy.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You can't measure the amount, the people who have just been like, "Oh, I'm just going to drop this for now and come back later." And just, it's not that they hate it or they love it. It's just that they don't care right then and there because it's not giving them what they want, which is escapism, fun, being able to play with friends, whatever it is that they get out of the
Hmm.
game. You're just not getting it. So they're
Yeah.
probably not very vocal on whether they like it or not. They're just not playing.
Yeah.
Um, you also have to think there's a lot of people who want to come back in, but they'll go to a friend, they'll go to a streamer, they'll you're good, Devils. Don't worry about it, buddy. Um, they go to a streamer and they're like, "Is it time for me to come back in?" And most honest people are gonna say no. This isn't the time for you to come back in. So there's that layer. There's so many different layers of this game of like interactions and feedback that you kind of just miss. And there's also
Hmm.
some that's like very specific to groups, like orgs. People who are heavily invested in orgs, I feel like are gonna keep playing longer because there's a group for them to play with, compared to
Yeah.
people who are playing solo and having to encounter all these bugs by themselves or in a group of two or a group of three.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, to kind of put in perspective, like you know, took a little bit of a break, came back to the game, and what I started doing was just low flying, and low
Hmm.
flying seems to work just fine. And there's no problem with desync really, at least flying next to others. It's very minimal. There is some
Hmm.
desync issues, but that's mainly going to actually help you in low flying because typically that means you can bounce off the floor and keep going, which we all love.
I've seen you bounce off a few rocks
Just bing,
and
like
then also
hey.
hit nothing.
Yeah. The,
So, so
there have been a couple moments of questionable, was like, was that rock really there when I was going through there, or did it appear as I was going through?
yeah.
Couple questions like that, but overall, you know, spawning in your bed, getting into an elevator, getting your ship retrieved, and getting into it and flying out has been relatively smooth. Now, the second I tried switching it up to go actually play the game, to meet up with people, grab a ship, get my ship sorted, kitted, get myself kitted, go to set my spawn where I need to, grab the contract, go to the contract. That turned into a shit show real fucking fast. That was bad. And in 2.5 hours, I was reminded why I took a 3 week break. And
Wow. That's yeah. So tell us about the type of bugs you were encountering then that was holding you up.
so the first real frustrating thing that's not even a bug at this point, it's just how they've designed it, is
Mm,
it's just putting missiles on your fighters. Man, that is painful experience. Like, okay, granted, once it gets saved to your loadout now, that actually works. But still, like
mhm,
the initial of like, I've got to get my ship claimed. I've got to make sure it's stored. I've got to go buy the missiles. Then I've got to equip them on my ship. Then I have to go to a terminal, insure the ship, bring it up, make sure everything's on it, and then I'm good to go. Like this, what the hell are we doing? Like, what the hell
oh
are we doing?
wow.
And it's like, oh yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
I
all to
mean,
avoid duping and exploiting. Like, holy shit, if it was that bad and these are the steps necessary now to put missiles on your ship, like this is stupid.
yeah. And like from a just a game design aspect, what part of that do they think is fun?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that is the question right now, is like, how is all of this stuff fun? Because right now we're not
Because
able to see the fun so much because we're dealing with so many bugs. But let's just say the bugs weren't there. Try to imagine a world where there are no bugs and SARS to this. As difficult as that may be. But use your imagination. Like, you're able
if
to just do things like, I think a lot of things would be fun once or twice, but like, do you really think you'd be able to get through 10, 20, 100, 200 of them, whether they be
mhm,
contracts or events? Like, for me personally, think the answer right now is a no.
I think I would definitely be playing the game if there was no bugs. Um, I don't know how much time I would commit to it. Just depends. Like, I still have an issue with how much time it takes to get places and to set stuff up, like you were mentioning. So, like, to me, I think they really need to shore up a lot of that in terms of gameplay loops. so you can get back into the action or whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever activity it is. You know, based on whatever setback. Say you're out mining, you accidentally hit a rock or you blow up, whatever it is. But I probably would be more focused on playing with friends and doing bigger activities with the org that I'm a part of and with friends. That said, though, I still fall on the amount of time that I feel that you have to be able to commit to Star Citizen in one sitting. You actually have to have some free time to sit down and get something done in this game. So I really want to see them shorten things up and really hash out some of these gameplay loops and make things feel a bit more rewarding. You know, I can see the scope that they're trying to go for. And like in a 1.0, no bugs. If I'm working towards like creating a base that's going to be persistent that I can go back to and I can build upon with friends or whatever it is, some of the time like that they require you to put in makes sense for like a group, I suppose, right? So you don't grow too quickly in this universe and you don't become too powerful of a group. But for the solo player, that's going to be really, really rough, I think. I think it's going to be a really bad time.
Well, not if they're Legatus. No, sorry. That was...
But like, I just think like, I don't know, the guy that's got an hour or two to put into the game after work, after working a full-time shift, isn't going to really want to come home and feel like he's working in the game.
That's a good point. And I 100% agree with that. I think right now the game is work. So it's not a game. It's a chore.
Yeah. There's a lot of things they could do that they seem to ignore a lot of for quality of life for the game and the player. And it just, I don't know. That's why I'm a bit salty about it, I suppose, is, you know, maybe the game's just not for me in the sense that I want to hop on a game and have a good time and have fun with friends.
Yeah, and that was my whole thing yesterday, right? I was doing a little bit of low flying while the group gets ready and people kind of get in, and then we all meet up and boom, we go out and we do something fun. And it's not easy to always get 6, 7, 8 people in a group, right? So that takes forever. So hey, you know, that's why a lot of people like set a time 2 weeks in advance, and it's like just fucking be ready at this time. And then people still can't do it. But
well, there's no social tool for that group as well. If they want to add more people, it's based off of other people you've run into or you play with. You could put it into global chat. Hey, we're looking for however many people. Are they going to be able to get to you in time? Are they going to take an hour to get ready to get to you? Like what are we encompassing here, and how quickly can they party up with you and get to you?
Well, that was a new bug I also ran into yesterday, which was so once you log into the game and you're playing, your friends list doesn't update. So whoever was on when you got on is still there, even if they've gotten off, even if more people have come on. That was interesting. So like it's like, all right, time to party up. Why is nobody online? And I kept saying that. I was like, why is nobody online? Like, you guys all said you were getting ready. Everybody's like, no, we are here. And I'm like, what? Oh. But you can still send friend invites or party invites to people who are offline, which thankfully. But it's like now I'm scrolling through my 200 plus friends list to find the one person that I'm trying to invite. And yeah, no, the social tools they were necessary 3 years ago. Now they're just overdue.
Yeah. I was just thinking a little side shot of that, and I totally forgot what I was gonna say. It was about to do with that. So I remember now. About the people not showing up when they log on after you initially get on, and then them hiding the player counts for the servers that they're on. You think they're really trying to thwart people hopping servers?
No, I don't think. I think that's probably just a code error. I think that's more of a bug. I'm gonna chalk that up under not to be mean, under, let's just call it bug rather than effort to hide the numbers. Because if that was true, then display info wouldn't work. But once you get into a shard, you can always bring
Mhm.
up the command console, put in display info 1, 2, or 3, and it'll tell you what the current population is. So it's not like they're completely hiding it. If that wasn't
Yeah.
available, I'd say yeah, now they're trying to hide it so that you don't know what's going on. And
Mm.
whether that is actually an effective way of preventing people from shard hopping, and I don't know. I'm not convinced, but I think
I agree. I agree. It's not totally convincing, especially because you can look up that info and see it. Um, but it makes me wonder. Okay, what's this error, and why are they having this error now when it was not a thing prior?
so. It had happened once before, but it was something that lasted like not even a week, and then we had the numbers
Oh,
back. I believe. I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time I've seen this bug with the player
yeah.
count. Um,
Well, this showed up in what 4.7, 4.8?
this showed up at the end of 4.8, I think. Like one of the patches of 4.8. I don't remember if it was there
Mm-hmm.
day one in 4.8.
Mm.
But one thing is for sure now I don't know where to, who to jump in on. Basically, kind of comes things you just kind of test it. That's what it did. Us. That's why I remembered it. It's because it was a thing at the beginning of 4.0.
Oh, interesting.
The
Okay.
0 of 1. So it's not the first time it showed up, but it's just kind of another example of just a lot of the basic things that we need for this game to function and be enjoyable are just not there right now. And
Yeah.
let's talk about this for a little bit, because we've mentioned how many people have been vocal about their displeasure. There have been quite a few bans on Spectrum recently. Quite a few.
Oh, yeah.
Some merited,
Just a couple.
some
Mm-hmm.
merited. Again, even if you're making a good point, if you're insulting the devs, their character and their person, that's never acceptable. And not only is it not acceptable, it kind of destroys your argument to begin on, if you had a valid one. Just going
Yeah.
going
Like,
after people's character and their
yeah,
person is
being
never acceptable. But
being vulgar and belligerent like never gets your point across.
yeah, it always is going to work against you rather than work for you. So,
Mhm.
a lot of people are like, oh, I got, banned by Knight Rider. It's just, sometimes I think people just do it on purpose to be able to be like, yo, I got banned from Knight Rider by Knight Rider too.
It's the cool thing to do in Star Citizen. Yeah.
So there's that. But no, where I was going with that is, have you noticed as much I guess what in an extreme sense you would call white knighting, or have you seen as much of an effort to defend what's going on in game right now as we do typically?
I've definitely seen some of it. It's either getting covered now by people that are upset, or the White Knights are kind of holding off a little bit. Maybe they're waking up. I don't know. But I've seen less so. But I was at the beginning of like 4.8. I was seeing, lots of posts claiming, that just the same stuff. It's an alpha, this and that, and blah blah blah. And this far into development, for the period of time and the amount of funding that's gone into it, and just in my short period comparatively to some other players, I've just seen a pattern of bug go away, bug come back, and it's not fixed. And now we're seeing a lot of notes in Spectrum where it's potential fix and it's not fixed anymore. So I don't know if that's a legal speak thing, but it's quite odd to me that, hey, we have this potential fix for this problem that we keep having, and we think we found it, and people are reporting it less, or whatever. But um, yeah, I've seen the white knighting kind of come down a bit. They're still out there. I'm still seeing a few comments, but it's less so. I'm seeing more negative comments in comparison.
I think like I was saying, the real factor right now, and I think where the real number is that we should be looking at, unfortunately it's so hard to see, is just the amount of people who are just have lost the desire to care, and who just moved on to other things. And you know I look at the list of streamers that I follow and support, right?
Hmm.
80-90% of them are pure Star Citizen streamers. Man, I think at best 60% of my list is streaming Star Citizen now. People are reaching out to branching out to other games, which I think is super important as streamers, and it's something that is necessary if what you want to be as a streamer and not just support one game. But
Hmm.
I mean that doesn't really lie. The other thing that I actually think is really interesting is I feel like so right now Star Citizen typically is between like 4,000 viewers on Twitch, just on Twitch. Um
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like
I
they
haven't.
maintain that number just purely off of people who don't want to play but want to see what's going on. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of them.
So I'd be kind of interested to dive into the metrics of Star Citizen. And you seem to think that they have not. Um, I'm trying to check this out right now, but they haven't gone down so much as viewership on Twitch.
No, the viewership stays pretty consistent. If anything, I'd say there's a small uptick
Hmm.
because I think what it comes down to, I mean, I just noticed it through my community. A lot of people aren't playing, but they want to see the game. They want to see what's going on. Some are
Yeah.
sadists and they want to see you struggle and suffer. Others are masochists and they want to feel the suffering there with you.
I want to see other people suffer. Well, I can relate to that. I mean, I've been watching others play it. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I've been living vicariously through others during these patches. So I still have a general curiosity about what's going on in the game, but I haven't seen, let's say, the level of change that I want to see or a new bit of content that really makes me want to jump in and get through all the stuff to experience for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, as regular players, you get through the new content pretty quickly, right? Well, the only thing that typically slows you down is the amount of rep you have to grind. But
Yeah.
you know, Ozzy mentions the fact that there are drops. Yeah, the drops have been going since 2 days ago, 3 days, 4 days ago. Before that, the numbers were relatively the same. Yeah, if anything, I've only seen an uptick of about an extra average of 500 to 1,000 people because of the drops, which the first two times they did drops, the numbers were way higher. Now,
Hmm.
again, Star Citizen hasn't really broken 10,000 viewers on Twitch in the last 3 months, which is kind of sad because when you look at it, typically a game that's been in development this long that is continually adding content, the numbers should be going up steadily, right? They're not. They do these weird up and downs, these weird, you know, these weird peaks around a patch drop, content drop, and then immediately within a few days, there's immediate, you know, clear drop in numbers because usually you see the content pretty quickly. Another thing that works against us is the fact that there's PTU. People see the content or on people who are playing PTU before people who don't want to bother with PTU test it in PU. So I don't think that helps them that much. But that brings up something that I wanted to talk about, which is 4.10 coming out. I think it's a safe assumption to say that you have not tried PTU.
No, I have seen others try it, and they usually jump on for just a little bit to check out whatever new content is there, and then they move on.
If they can get in, because from what I heard, I've been very clear about this. I have not been watching or playing PTU in quite a while.
Hmm.
Because if it's truly an alpha, then we're still testing it in live, and anyone who says different is just delusional at this point. And that's the only thing I give people who come out with yeah, but it's an alpha. It is an alpha. That's why it's still shit in the live version because it's it's not done yet.
Right.
But to say it's okay that it's shit because it's an alpha when it's been going on for 13, 14 years is no, I can't take that argument anymore. Time has destroyed it. But so you, Cody, have sent me an interesting graph here that we're going to take a quick look at.
Yep, there are little sliders at the bottom. You can change the amount of time. I think that one's only like about a month, but I did all of 2026 on average and peak viewers, and it looks like we're trending down at a pretty steady pace right now since June. June seems to be the peak this year.
Sorry, let me make sure the scene is ready. Why don't I have...
It is a pretty steep. So recently, though, channels have peaked that are playing the game.
Because I think more people are
Well,
supporting them.
not peaked for the year, but they have reached one of the peaks. It jumped up. That was July 27th. That was what, 4.10 PTU maybe?
Stand by.
So right now my scale is from Monday December 29th, 2025, or like Friday, December 26th to today. And you can see at the beginning of the year, end of last year, peak viewership was trending down through the beginning of the year and started coming up.
So that's actually interesting that Devil, you bring that up, because I was having that argument this morning with a buddy. What I've come to realize is I have made that claim a few times that it's still three things they're working on, but at the end of the day, it's one project, and it's been the same project from the beginning, and everything happens within that project. You never hear other game say, well, you have to understand, we had to build the engine and, all this shit. Like, that's the excuses we get out of Bethesda. It's like, well, out of their new games, not the old ones, because they were building, Starfield was built off an engine that was already 10 years old when they started making the game. So that wasn't the great excuse back then. But now there's excuse, oh, we're doing Creation Engine 3, and it's going to take us a while. It's like, guys, Skyrim 6, or sorry, Elder Scrolls 6 has been in development for how fucking long? You guys are in Star Citizen territory. But anyways, the thing is, what I meant by that is it's still one project. This is one project that they've concepted, found funding for, convinced all of us to help them fund to make their universe. So all of these things were clearly defined from the very beginning, and this is where it falls on management and in creative direction, where it's like, hey, you guys aren't respecting any kind of timeline. You call us roadmap watchers when we give you shit because you put up a roadmap and you don't respect it, and things constantly get kicked down the line. So that's why now the roadmap has changed, because we're all roadmap watchers and and that crap, which is ridiculous because we're just looking at what you guys are saying, and you're the one with the roadmap. If you don't think it's going to come out, then don't say it. And that's where a lot of the conversation turns sour, because as you go down the rabbit hole, for me personally, I feel like it's clearly just a lie. It's a marketing tool to be like, well, no, look, all these things that we're going to try to do, but it's going to be great. And like, yeah, it's going to be so cool once you guys get to touch it. And that'll probably be in 2 months. And then the 2 months becomes 2 years. And then people start going, hey, what's going on with these things? Like, oh, you guys are just watching the roadmap. Like, this is game development, man. Things take time. And you're like, yeah, but what's an acceptable amount of time? I get, according to CIG, 20 years is an acceptable timeline for things to be complete.
Yeah.
Most game developers, most publishers would never put up with that shit. And yes, I still agree with the argument of like, it's a very good thing that they're self-funded in a way, because we can't say that we're investors, because we're not. We get shit for our money. We get to play a buggy experience of a game. So they've found a way to self-fund through us this game that they don't have to answer to anyone to in terms of timeline, of deadline, because truly the only people they'd have to answer to are the player base. But because the player base, at least a portion of them, even if it may be a small minority, they're such a impactful minority because of how much money they dish out into the game, that, well, they'll never stop that as long as the money's coming in. It's like people are, one thing I wanted to talk about was like the fact that people are clearly not playing as much as they used to. I think numbers are down. I think interest in the game is kind of faltering a bit right now. But again, this is typically a period of the year where we get less updates in summer. We get a little bit less content because it is the summer months. People are on vacation, stuff like that. But you also get a lot of dedicated players who spend a lot of time, especially if they have, a couple weeks off or some vacation time. They'll want to play the game. But typically, summer is not the most active development part of the year. I feel like right now, like if you have free time to dedicate to a game, it definitely shouldn't be in here, right? Sorry, I lost
No.
I lost my train of thought a little bit, but let's get into these numbers. Um,
So at the top of the screen, those little things that's showing you 30 days, the last 30 days, basically. And you can see it's trending down. Even though the graph below shows kind of a trend up, which is interesting. But this is saying out of the last 30 days, you've had hours watched is down by 3.5%. Hours streamed is down by almost 9%. Average viewers is down by 3.5%. Average channels is down by 8%. Viewer ratio is up, so that probably just coincides with average channels. More people are just tuning into other streamers.
yeah, that's definitely what's going on.
And then max viewers is down, so the peak is down by 9.6. And then
That should be higher,
streamers.
actually.
Yeah. And then streamers is down by 10.5%. So less people are streaming it. Less max people are viewing it. So less people are streaming it, less people are viewing it. But people are turning into other streamers that are like people that are still watching it are just tuning into other streamers that are still streaming it. So I think that kind of coincides with your thought on people like still kind of wanting to see the game and see where it's at.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that makes the Star Citizen community great is how much support they show each other within the community, and that applies to streamers as well, which is a great thing. But at the same time, it creates this a little bit of a microcosm where it's like its own environment of people kind of like, holding it up just by sheer will, and because they're so dedicated, it doesn't show a natural, organic, healthy growth of like, no, it's just new people coming in, it's people coming back because they're curious about what's going on. No, it's more the same people, just very much dedicated to supporting the game, and less as important as who the streamer is that they're watching.
Yeah.
Because there's no real esports around Star Citizen. There's a bit there. They tried with dogfighting, that didn't go very well. Racing, unfortunately, doesn't get enough love. And when the game's bad, the racing is bad. You know what I mean? Like they heavily depend on server performance, server FPS. Like I haven't seen as much racing in the last month or two. Like a lot of the racers are just kind of checked out. It feels like. And yeah, looking at these numbers again, these are estimates. They're not completely official numbers. I know they're aggregates, and it's hard to get the exact numbers. But
yeah, and this is just one platform, right? This isn't like the full picture of everything. But the 30 days is interesting to me because it's the one that has the most negative results. You check on the others, like it seems to be growing quite a bit. So something's changed, or there's just curiosity about the new content.
So I had to ban the same fucker twice, who came back with a different account. That fucker was there earlier at the very beginning of stream saying go contact Sinatra, whatever. Fucking comes back under a different account name. Eat shit, dude.
Yeah, it's free accounts.
Yeah. So
we're still, if you look at 90 days, I mean, it's trending up, but we're still under the peak amount of channels and average channels from May. So.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, July 29th coincides with what? Beginning of Free Fly, beginning of the Foundation Festival. So these spikes we're seeing are, yes, they're based off of the content, but this This is insane. 20,000, 21,000 and a half on July 29th at 7 p.m. And then by July 30th, 5 a.m., not even 12 hours later, it's already down to 4,400. Like this is not a very sustainable. Like, granted, the peak hours are going to be around the US and Europe. And, once it gets out of that time zone, things typically dip for most games.
If you look at the bottoms of those, you can kind of see a downward trend, at least at the bottom.
Yeah, the lows are going lower and lower.
Yeah. Even before that big spike.
Oh, yeah, this is bad. So. This is peak. This is okay, so 4.8 drops before July.
So that's just that's just a last 30-day period.
90 days. This is a bit more telling. Boom, 4.8 drops. No, that's before 4.8. That might have been 4.7.
That might have been what, TSG maybe?
That could have been TSG. Yeah. Star Citizen 4.8 release date. I forget already. May 13th. No. This is 4.8. This is 4.8 right here. This big spike. 4.8 comes out. Everybody checks in, wants to see what's going on. They realize it's absolute shit. Boom. Crashes. This is probably the first hot fix or patch they put out to try and fix it. People are like, okay, did they make it better? Nope. Boom. Goodbye. And then we come back with June 14th, probably coincides with 4.9.
And we're talking top of peak is 42,000. Yep. This and is within 6 days, we're down to under 11,000. And there's a little peak, a drop, another peak, and then it continues downward trending until June 2nd, which is kind of the average bottom here. Back down to 5,200 peak viewers.
It's not good. Okay. All right. Well, this is interesting. So, all right. Well, quick PSA for any new streamers thinking of getting into Star Citizen. Based off of this, probably not the greatest idea if you're purely looking at numbers. Now, like what we were talking about is this community does have something special, which is they're very supportive of other Star Citizen content creators. Probably because, they feel their pain. Also because the hopium helps that other people will go down the same rabbit hole and be just as hooked as they are. Whatever it may be, there is definitely a lot of support within the Star Citizen community. So that is also another factor to take into account. But yeah, the fact that most channels are English, once the time zones have passed in the UK and in the US, yeah, you're not going to see the same amount of people watching, which is what you typically see here. Does it not show the time? No, that was the other one. But yeah, so I was actually wrong earlier when we were looking at this. June 14th, that's like 4.8.1 or 0.2 coming out. July 15th, which is it's actually even more telling. July 15 happens. No one tunes in to see if 4.9 is any better. Everybody knows. It goes up a little bit. Oh yeah, maybe it's a little smoother. Immediately crashes back down. And then we get the Foundation Festival. People come back in. And again, it doesn't last. Like we're 5 days after the beginning of the event, and we're at 40% of the peak at the start of it. So
I mean, naturally it's grown in average viewership. It looks like it's plateaued pretty much. Peak viewers, though, since the last big peak was October 2023, it looks like. And then since then, the peaks have been smaller and smaller. So,
yeah, I mean, I keep saying it, and I still believe this very much so. what's playing against Star Citizen, the entire project and as a whole, is the amount of time. It's you can't be developing something like this for this long. Now, granted, they're doing things that other games, other developers are just not doing. A lot of people use the Elite Dangerous examples. Like, yeah, you can fly around a ship, you can go around tons of systems, you can get into ship combat, but it's arcadey. It doesn't give you the same feel. You're not in charge of your ship. I use another example because a lot of things, what a lot of people hold against Elite Dangerous is no physical interiors of ships. It's just you get into the cockpit and fly around. The other side of that is No Man's Sky now lets you walk around the inside of your ship, but it's super arcadey and very limited on multiplayer. So you no one is truly able to give the feel of Star Citizen.
But you can customize and build your own ships in No Man's Sky.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Not gonna lie.
Some people have made some really cool stuff in that.
Yeah,
I think that it really opens up. It would be kind of nice if we were able to have some form of customization. They've kind of added some bits you can add to like the Shiv and stuff, but I just wish there was a little bit more customization in that sense.
yeah, but those are
Granted,
body
that's
kits. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
no,
and
like
it's not even like a good body kit. It's like it's like those little ricers you see on the streets. Like the guy put like the fender flares and he's got the massive go fast wing, but he's still got a stock 3-cylinder. So no, nobody cares.
yeah, right.
So it's very visual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just the visual goodies. But it would be nice if there was a little bit more customization. But that's not something I'm rooting for at this point.
Oh, I don't think it makes sense in the current way of the game. They don't want you to customize your ship or build your own. Why would you buy concept ships if you could do that? I think again, just to go back and reiterate this, is the biggest thing playing against Star Citizen is time. It's one thing to promise all these great things. It's another thing when you're not delivering on them, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And I go back to my experience yesterday. Like I hadn't really had the desire to play, but low flying is what, and this human being right here, Dex, was kind of getting me back into it with like low flying is kind of working. It's not too bad. This is fun. I miss this. I miss the group of guys. Like that's fun. Like, kind of like what we were talking about, like with orgs and groups, like that's what really starts to bring you into the game. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, you know what? I'm having fun low flying. Yeah, that's okay. Let's branch out and let's do something else in the game, man. And then just everything from there just completely went downhill. And it is frustrating. And it's one thing when like it's happening to you for the first time. I typically laugh off a lot of bugs in the game, but I can only do that the first 10, 20 times before I start to just get frustrated and it's not funny anymore. Like you can't hear the same joke over and over and still laugh. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's where I'm at. I've experienced the same thing over and over again. And it's gone away and it's come back. And I just kind of fed up with it, So I'm waiting for bigger pieces of content that give me, the interest, that pique my interest, and I'll go in depending on if I have to grind for rep or not, because I'm really kind of past grinding for rep to do these activities, because the grind can be just depending. The grind can be pretty grindy. It can wear you down,
Mm-hmm.
and
Especially
I
when
want
it's
something
not
that I
working.
can. Yeah, exactly. So like, I just want to make sure that I can spend the least amount of time and get to the point and experience the gameplay loop, whatever it is, and hopefully have a good time with it.
To go off what Dex just said, the grind makes no sense in a test environment. I
Oh my God.
personally say yes, but I think from a dev perspective, as a player perspective, absolutely. Making us grind out stuff that barely works to get to the stuff that you want us to test in the first place, is rough. But I think from a dev perspective, if I try to play devil's advocate for a second, they look at it as we need people testing out everything all the time, every day. So I think in their mind, they're just trying to force us to do these loops over and over and over again to find the bugs, to deal with them. Now, where that doesn't make sense, I think from a dev perspective, is because there's not a proper Q&A done on these patches, on these things, or it doesn't even feel like there's a QA team working in tandem with us as we're testing things out. Well, you're getting bad feedback because you're getting feedback from people who are untrained testers. You know what I mean?
Mm.
We're not
100%.
we're not trained to be Q&A analysts. We're not trained to go looking for the bugs. Some of us are fantastic at finding them somehow, but like it's not it's not our main thing, right?
Some people are really adept at that, for sure.
It's like fucking black cloud over their head. But like,
well, then okay, so that just brings into question the two different test environments, right? We have live, and then we have PTU, and then they also have a third one, whatever, avocado, whatever it is, avocado. What bothers me is it's not targeted testing in that sense, because it's not like they give you a questionnaire at the end of it.
There should be more surveys. There should be more. There was a survey recently. I think I missed it because I was dealing with.
Yeah, they're not gauging the experience at all. They're waiting for people to go in and go into Spectrum, which is its own rat's nest of things.
It is.
People go in and post, and then they'll complain because their post got moved. It's like, why not put together a group that is, we get those new gameplay experiences, people go in, they play them, and at the end of whatever period it is, you get an email, and it's a survey email with bullet points or whatever, from, liked to severely disliked, whatever it is, right? Because in any testing environment, that's what I've dealt with. That's to help gauge feedback and get feedback, and then they give you comment sections to, oh yeah, did you experience this? Yes. All right, what did you like or dislike about it? There's a comment section to go in and voice those concerns that you have as a player. And it doesn't seem to do anything like that.
It doesn't, and it's like. So that's why I understand people who have the reaction of like, well, do you really care about our feedback? Like, does it really matter? Others feel like maybe they're picking and choosing players' feedback, which, if we're being honest, from a dev standpoint, you kind of have to, because you don't want, at the same time as you don't want to accept a comment that's just everything sucks. It's equally bad to get a comment that says everything's fantastic, because neither one of those statements are true or helpful. Neither one gives you any kind of information in any direction. So I keep going back to the get rid of all the waves, have your evocati, because those are the most dedicated human beings who have put too much time into this, and don't let those human beings go to waste, because they are a pillar of our community and of the game's development, and they should always be CIG should always be incredibly grateful to people who are putting in the time and effort to be evocati, because that is some serious dedication that I feel like is probably very often gone unrecompensed, and that's terrible to say. Again, though, if somebody's here as evocati and feel like they've been given some cool stuff, or feel like they're actually feel like they're what's the word I'm looking for?
Representative?
No. Supported by CIG, I guess, or just shown that CIG has been grateful for their participation and their effort.
Just appreciated.
There you go. Effort. Thank you. Why was it appreciated? Couldn't freaking remember the damn word. Words difficult.
Words are hard.
Words are hard, man. But no, if they truly feel appreciated, that's great. But honestly, I feel like they're probably underappreciated for the role they play. But anyways, have evocati. Okay, sorry. Let it go through your QA at CIG, then have it go through Evocati, then just all waves. Because what I've been hearing out of this PTU, I always try to go watch as many content creators as I can. Space Tomato, Astropub, or Astro Historian, sometimes Board Gamer, Super Mac Brothers, Salty Mike, Captain Tar, and like I try to go through as many different creators as possible to see kind of what the overall feedback is. And let's be honest, when you see Board Gamer going, yo, there's some serious problems and this is not looking great, then it's bad. Like you know something is not going well. But basically what people were saying is in this PTU, it felt like there was only ever one shard active for testing. Not multiple shards, just one shard. So when something broke on the one shard, all the PTU testers were screwed.
Yeah.
Which I think that also speaks of loads. If they're down to one shard for PTU. Also, apparently it went Evocati for a few days, wave 1, and then within 24 hours or less, it was all waves. Again, every time I see this, I double down and I say, this is clearly signs that their wave system is a joke. It's not working. It's counter and it's counter effective to what they're trying to do. Like these guys should be trying to get the best environment testing every time. And I'm sorry, but the wave system, I don't think enough people are still interested in testing the test environment before it goes into the testing environment to really put the time into the PTU, because that's exactly what it is. Because like, honestly, like if you still honestly accept and understand the reality of it's an alpha, right? Well, alpha means test environment. So when it goes to live, we're still testing it. Yes, that is a fact, but that doesn't mean it's acceptable. And it's also the way they present it is no longer you're testing, the game. It's you're testing our live game. You're testing our live release. Like it's getting into this word salad with what technically is the PU. But it just doesn't make any sense anymore. Please get rid of the wave system. Like, yeah, we get it. You tried to cash on the fact that you could have wave 1 be behind a subscriber paywall. Stop it. Accept your mistake. That's not working. And if it's true, and if this wave system is truly beneficial, prove it. Tell us how it's doing. Do an STL and have Benoit or whoever come out and be like, no, well, this is what we get from the waves. This is why this is so beneficial. And this is how this has helped us, get to where we are today, which then you could debate on if where we are today is truly good. But I would at least be willing to hear the demonstration. No, it's no wave system. We won't even talk about it. We refuse to bring, this is the thing that shall not be named. It's freaking Voldemort.
I'm just seeing people use the PTU to test to go and check out the new content that they know is coming to live. And as a streamer, like, why not? Why wouldn't I hop on the PTU to show people what's coming? Since you can't with Evocati, right? But you can with PTU. And I don't think they're necessarily using it for what it's intended, which is to test this build that Evocati had tested these things. They've gone through it. They shored up whatever it was. Now they want to put it into a larger environment and see if it's stable. And that's what the PTU is for. But people are just going in to see, hey, can I get to the new content? Can I play it? How's it going? Not, hey, I ran into this bug. Let me hop on Spectrum, report this. You know what I'm saying?
No. They're using it as a window into what the game will be, right? Not as let's hope this makes the game better. And you can't blame people for that. Like I said, most people don't come into this being like, yeah, I want to be a paying tester. No, that is not our goal.
Because the way it's advertised to us and sold to us is that it's a working, functioning game.
Which
that's how it's advertised.
I mean, if you want to take some other examples, Chronicles of Illyria, yeah, this works better than Chronicles of Illyria. For those of you who don't know what Chronicles of Illyria is it's an MMO that was also crowdfunded through a Kickstarter that you could only play that game on weekends if you had paid a ridiculous amount to be involved in like the alpha testing. But it would be broken builds that would go up on a Friday and they wouldn't do shit about it over the weekend. So then
Yeah.
you'd have to wait till the following weekend. Anyways, that was a terrible, terrible model. That game has pretty much failed. Other example, Ashes of Creation.
Mhm.
That one's hard for a lot
Remember
of
hearing about
people
that.
because a lot of people were really invested and hoping that project would work. And it was a very ambitious project where each zone would interact with each other and have an effect on the economy and who controlled the area. And this is very, ambitious MMO. And they also raked in a lot of cash. They had backers, financing. It turns out that everybody involved in that project was shady motherfucker. And there's so
Mm.
much weirdness around that whole thing. So that was all doomed, it seems, for a while now. But that's just another example of a failed Kickstarter, which Star Citizen is still seen as like the beacon of hope for Kickstarter games. And it's the reality, I think, is it's people, because they got enough people to believe in it, they've propped it up and gotten it to where it is now. But
Mhm.
I don't think anyone, at least, and again, I talked about it briefly earlier, but the concept of what Star Citizen should be has changed over the years, right? At first, it was something that was pretty segmented. Think more Starfield, Mass Effect, where there are animations to take you from space to the planet in different areas, limited areas that you can explore on the planet. Anyways, and then it became this. Well, it's going to be an open, massive sandbox and space and different system and jump gates and no loading screens and everything that's made Star Citizen what it is today. And I think
Mhm.
that's also one of the reasons why people play, get invested, drop money into this project, see the ambition and hope that it works out. But again, at the end of the day, a lot of it is just purely hope in terms of like, what have they actually delivered that really should make us believe that this is possible? Well, I think there are a couple things, but those things aren't like a definite, this is going to work. For example, server meshing, as with all the problems it has, it is still impressive to be able to, in a spaceship, now cross into another server and not feel the difference, right?
Mhm.
Now that tech has come a long way. It was not good when it came out. You knew when you were crossing a server because you drop out of hyperspace or sorry, jumps, whatever, quantum,
Mm.
and then you'd have to
Yeah.
restart. And there have definitely been growing pains to it. But if I had to point to at least one thing that I think has kind of propped up the hope for a lot of people, is like, well, server meshing is kind of there. And that's impressive. I think it is.
Yeah.
But
No,
at the
most
same
definitely.
it's not enough though to be like, this project is a guaranteed 100% surefire win.
For sure. I mean, I just think of the compare and contrast from when I first started and it was like 100 people per server versus to when we started pushing server meshing and what it is today. And the hope I have with that, right? And, the impact that's had on the game and allowing the amount of people to be on a server in a shard, because we went from that 100 people, they introduced server meshing, performance came way up, which was nice per server. And then, they started testing the limits of that system and we got 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. And then like, I think we're at like 6 to 700. Like they kind of hover in that area now, because that's kind of the upper threshold limit of what the servers can handle. And we're starting to see that server performance come down now, and be more, to me, kind of in line. That my recent experiences were more in line with what it was like with 100 people on a server before meshing. But counter to that is, now that we have more people in, the universe feels a bit more filled out. You're running into players a bit more often, and it feels like more of that MMO experience where you're seeing other people around the map, you know, and interacting with them in whatever way.
Yeah, I see that. And I think that is a positive, and I think it's
Hmm.
actually, they even pushed it up to 800.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is, and I think what a lot of the criticism is based around, is the fact that you're just trying to push servers that just can't handle this with the amount of data and things that are streaming back and forth in the game. The
Yeah.
fact, if it was
I
a single player, it'd be different, right? Because it's just streaming back and forth with you, even if you're connected to a server, for example.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think it's so much the servers. I think it's the game engine and the persistence of everything that they're trying to push across and keep track of.
I agree. I
We've
think
seen
persistence
beginning of
is.
patches. Yeah, we've seen beginning of patches come out. Things run pretty good for a while, and then of course ships start to add up, bottles of water and garbage around the
Yeah.
verse. Just stuff starts to degrade over time. Even though typically the beginning of the patch you have more people playing, and then it tapers off after a while because everybody's there for the new content. They get what they want out of it, and they hightail it.
Mhm.
So
I think it's pretty accurate to say that there are certain things that have made this project looked possible, but they haven't
mhm,
delivered 100% on anything, not even any of the systems. You could make the argument that still every system in the game is a tier 0 system. Um, and when you think about what's necessary in the building blocks to get to a final or 1.0 product, you'd think that having in fully fleshed out elevator, ATC, um, inventory, kiosk, buying from traders. You'd think those basics would get to tier 3 or whatever max tier very quickly, right? In order, but we haven't seen that at all. And so I totally understand, I feel and hear the argument of like, it's clearly just an effort to put as much into the game as possible, whether it's finished or not, to give the illusion of progress, of content, of filling up the void within Star Citizen. And I think it plays against them to do that because people come in, they try these systems and they go, this is broken, it's crap. What is this? It's not fleshed out. It doesn't make
mhm.
sense. This isn't balanced with anything else. Like, and that just creates frustration. And people, word of mouth doesn't matter, right? Like when somebody asks you, what do you think of this? And you respond negatively, that's going to have an influence on what that person is going to think
Well,
about the product.
and it continually adds to, or it continually, um, oh my goodness, it continually makes the problems that they're solving more complex because
Hmm.
there's more added to more added to the game, creating more issues that they then again have to chase, rather than starting with a system, shoring that up completely, and moving on to the next, and integrating that in a way, and going through the bugs that show up when you integrate that into the system. We've seen a pretty good amount of features, I would say, show up within the last I don't know 6 months,
Yeah.
crafting and some of the stuff that we're seeing, and crafting being the big one, but like these things are showing up, and they're showing up broken, or they're affecting
Engineering,
other systems.
crafting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those definitely the big ones. And those are both systems that require a lot of input from the players to help make those gameplay loops fun. So
The problem
they're
is
having to
then,
chase too many loose ends in a sense.
yeah, but well, if you never tie up an end, it's going to be loose forever. And,
Yeah.
all those loose
So
ends that never got tied together, they're constantly biting CIG in the ass. I mean, we got into that
uh,
entire SCL about, yeah, the way we do things is bad. Okay, well, you've clearly known about this. You didn't figure it out in the last week when everything went to shit. So why is it
yeah.
now? Don't worry, guys. We're gonna do better. You've had all this money, all this time, all this goodwill.
Hmm.
And that's the thing is a lot of people don't think about this. Is like they've gotten a ton of goodwill from the community. So much. And a lot of it has come in the form of dollars. And they again, they systematically only deliver on the marketing material and not on the game. And that's just gotten very frustrating. And I
Oh
think
yeah. It's
rightfully so.
Yeah, and it leads me to believe that it's being severely mismanaged. It's not so much on the people that show up to work every day and try to create what they can do. To me, it's the management of the game itself. I understand you're making a single player experience. That's great, but you need to be able to manage this other side project that you're doing, and take it systematically, and not just throw everything at the wall at once.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, well, if everything's coming over from Squadron and it's this bad when it comes into this game, like, granted, there's probably a big difference between putting systems into an MMO compared to a single player, but a lot of
Hmm.
people are going to ask themselves the question, whether it's justified or not, is Squadron 42 going to be the same mess? And unfortunately, the fact that they keep pushing it back kind of gives that argument reason. Like it props it up. It's like, well, if it wasn't that bad, why do they keep pushing it back? Until the game comes out, it's going to be hard to argue that. And people will be like, well, no, I mean, how can you say it? It's not come out yet. How could you know? And they've taken all this time. And unfortunately, the
Well,
reality is the more time you take on a game, the more it goes through production hell, the less likely it is to be a good product.
yeah,
It's just history
and
says.
yeah, I wonder what the structure is and the communication is from the single player content. Like, is it just going to be client side, or are there going to be pieces that are communicating with the server? Because we can see a lot of our issues derive in Star Citizen from the client communicating with the servers, and those servers being overwhelmed at some point. And either you're getting packet loss that creates something to happen, say like an inventory item just disappears, and then you know it shows back up, or it just never shows up, like you just miss it entirely. Like there's certain information that's missing there with the communication of your client and the server and Star Citizen. And it makes me wonder, okay, what it should be way less complicated for the single player aspect of things, because it should just be all client side. You're just communicating with the game client itself on your PC and not having to go outside of that scope and receive packets of information. So I don't. It makes me wonder. Is this going to be like? Is Squadron 42 going to require you to have an internet connection or not?
I hope not. It shouldn't. I don't think CIG is that dumb to make it an online only game. I mean, like, no, I mean, like, that's one of my biggest
Yeah.
gripes with Black Flag Resync is what the fuck? Why did you guys have to make it an online only game? That's so stupid. It is, and that the only reason why is it leads to predatory monetization habits of constantly trying to sell you something, of constantly giving you reminders in game to go spend your money on useless fucking skins that change nothing.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, if you really like it, good for you. But for me, not only did the ones they added in game completely break the immersion, you're not a
Yeah.
pirate. You're a pirate, not some freaking witch doctor with fucking dragons flying around you. But whatever. That's for me. Uh, something that I might be a little bit more into than others. Authenticity. I don't think most
Yeah.
people give a crap about authenticity, but
Well, it depends on the game, right? If it's a fantasy game or not. This is supposed to be set in a particular time period and in reality, you would think.
mhm. I mean, and again, just I start to wonder, like, the Basher, I think, is a perfect example of a ship that doesn't make sense for me in Star Citizen right now. Now, it's not that it doesn't make sense in terms of a light fighter. Light fighters, of course,
Mhm.
make sense within Star Citizen. What I don't think it makes sense is its design feels so out of place compared to the other ships in the universe that it's kind of like, look at it this way. It's like if we had seen the ships from Naboo before actually seeing Naboo, its architecture, their lifestyle, at the same time the ships. Like you see all the ships around Coruscant, all the ships you've seen for multiple movies, and then all of a sudden you see these Naboo ships that look completely different. If you had just seen one of
Mhm.
those ships plopped into Coruscant without any context, it would look out of place. And that's kind of what the Basher is for me, is it doesn't make sense within this verse, sure, but it would make sense if an entire corner of the verse had this specific architecture and had these ships, and that's mainly what you saw flying around,
Mhm.
compared to just, oh, it'll make sense later, but we're going to sell it to you now because why not?
I feel like I don't want to step on people's toes, but some of the stuff they were talking about and the behind the ships with the Basher and this like not wanting to go through a custom animation for getting in the ship. So then they give it some sort of damage that all these ships have. So then there goes the believability that, you know, oh, this happened to the ship, blah, blah, blah. Well, they all have the same damage. So they went the lazy route and went with a already baked in freaking animation, and they made a change like this and tried to explain it away like, oh yeah, we're trying to give it character. Well, you're not really giving it character because all the ships have this, so it's just part of the ship, you know. So to me, the Basher was kind of a low effort cash grab, man. It was just to get another ship out there.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have anything else to look like the Shiv. And you know, Shiv is unique in its own right. And like these ships look like, to me, to kind of counterpoint what you're saying with the Naboo ship, they look like they belong in Pyro. So I mean, we do have an aesthetic that's like that.
But
you know, kind of that pirate hobbled together stuff. But those are the only two ships that exist that look like that.
I just, because I guess Pyro feels so dead at times, because it's not a living, breathing system where you're seeing NPCs flying around in ships like that. You're seeing players fly around in 890s, Polaris, Perseus, you know, like nothing that looks like
Yeah.
it fits in fucking, okay, the odd Shiv, which is the only ship that is comparable to. But I hear you.
Which flies great. I love the Shiv.
Everybody loves the Shiv.
It's
But anyways, let's to kind of change gears.
okay.
Actually, what we're gonna do, sorry, before we talk about the last part, we're gonna go over the patch notes for 4.10 in all waves of PTU, so we can kind of get an idea of what we might potentially get coming
If
here.
you have that up already,
I do.
can you send me a link to that?
Yes, I will. And then from there, we'll talk about Siege of Orison and you know, what we think that's going to be like, and what we've kind of already seen from other people who have tested it out, some of the feedback that's come in. So sorry everybody, we're going to get the beta summon out of the way now. I've got to take care of Doggo real quick, and we'll be right back. I'm going to send you this stuff. All right, we'll be right back, everybody.
You sir?
Wee. Okay, so now on to 4.10 and what that potentially means for all of us. What are we gonna get? Now, first question is, before we read through known issues and potential fixes, what are the odds that we get a truly better experience than what we've been getting in 4.8, 4.9? And, you know, and I like to remind people that the downwards trend started at the end of 4.6 going into 4.7.
I don't have high hopes personally. I'm a bit pessimistic at this point with the project. So just in the track record and the patterns I've seen of things get better or the bugs go away and then they come back, I don't really have high hopes for this one, especially because they're implementing instancing, and I really wonder what that is going to bring in terms of bugs and issues. You know, instancing shouldn't, like, if once you're in the instance, there shouldn't be much of an issue, you would think.
Well, from what I've been seeing and what I've heard, and I believe this is in Board Gamers video I was watching today, talking about that how actually the instance is not in a separate server, it is instanced within the same server you're already on, it seems like. So I think that's why people are getting issues with seeing other players' instances pop up in front of them, or having them above them or below them. So I think what I honestly thought it was going to be, because this is what makes the most sense to me, but again, I don't know shit, is I thought there was going to be an additional server added to the shard that it would handle all the instance content, which would make the most sense and alleviate the most load from the current servers and shard. I don't.
Shh. You're not supposed to think logically. What the
Excuse
hell,
me,
man?
forgive me. I used my brain
Yeah.
for 2 seconds. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I figured it would have been like a dedicated server. I'm with you on that. Like it would have been a dedicated server for these instances, and you like a lot of the issue of being like say on a shard in current servers is just the amount of work that the server has to do across its entire shard. So you would think an instance would be small and dedicated. It's going to be easier for that server to track everything in your little game client, right? So hearing that isn't it kind of goes along with what I'm fearing is it's going to be kind of a buggy mess. So if people are seeing other people show up and you're saying it's within that same server, it's going to be a mess. I hate to say it, but man.
It sounds like it's so far. And a lot of the
Mhm.
reports have been low server FPS, low FPS in general. People are getting less than 30 on Siege or Orison.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, let's take a quick look at this. What are we testing in 4.10 right now? Well, stability bug fixes long-term persistence between PT releases. Yeah, not so sure. Instance Siege of Orison, like we just said. Hydrogen fuel balance. Now that I haven't felt too much because I haven't done a ton of flying around long distances,
Mhm.
but I know a lot of people were complaining about that. It felt weird. The lever action rifle, which objectively cool, but
I
I wonder if it
hmm.
makes sense in Star Citizen.
I think it makes sense. I think I mean, look, it's old technology. It's still around today. It's been over, 100 plus years that technology's been around. People still love them and shoot them today. There's still new manufacturers that are producing them. So to me, like, it's believable. The gun to me isn't rugged enough. It carries too much ammunition and it doesn't shoot hard enough, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It shoots like it doesn't thump you like you see like in any other game, generally speaking, any other first person shooter, typically a lever action is going to hit hard, but it's
Yes.
also going to shoot slower and give you more recoil, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be that balancing factor of it.
It's a bigger round. Yeah.
This from yeah, this from what I'm seeing, well, and it's also going to be limited for ammunition because of that. So that helps balance it out versus other things that can shoot faster, um, you know, so to speak. So to me, it's not rugged enough in that sense, especially to go like because you want to play Space Cowboy, you want to have that lever action, you want to have a Coda pistol, you want to go out and thump people with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like I don't know. It looks pretty, but it to me it's still lacking that awe factor, I suppose. It to me it's just too sleek. It's too nice. It seems like a luxury item and not something like, you know, Cletus is going to have on his cabin on freaking Gloom or whatever,
Why can't I have it on my
Like
gun rack in McCuddy Black? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or my shiv, whatever. Like it doesn't seem like that. It seems like you're going to see that on a gun rack inside of an 890 next to a Copion head or something. So I don't know. Objectively speaking, it doesn't appeal to me in what I think of lever action rifles.
I love lever action rifles. One of the first rifles I ever shot with. Well, not one of the first. It definitely wasn't the first one, but one of the first rifles that I ever went to the range and enjoyed was a 1900 Winchester lever action with 40/40.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that it's impossible to find 40/40 in California, apparently. Like when we'd call around like 5, 6 different, big five gun stores, whatever. Do you guys have this ammo? No. Damn it. Can you guys
Yeah.
can you let us know when you get some? They'd laugh, be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think it's a lesser common ammo.
Yeah, and it's old school ammo. We just don't
Hmm.
make that round anymore. But anyways, like
Yeah.
I do have fond memories of it. The reason why I kind of go into like, does it fit? Same kind of thing with the bashers. Like right now, it feels like they're trying to put the carriage in front of the horse, kind of thing, where it's like they're constantly trying to push out items that don't necessarily make sense in the environment they've created us right now. It's more of just like, well, here's something new that we've been working on,
Yeah.
because it takes less time for the weapon team to pump something out than it does for the or the mission design team or the planet tech team or whatever. So we can't give you these environments that they would naturally kind of be found in, but here's the stuff
Hmm.
anyways. So that's just where I kind of am like scratching my head going like, well, you I appreciate the effort for new stuff, but I don't care about the new stuff as much when I can't play the game.
Yeah. It and where does it fit in? Speaking, is there a specific star system or planet system that this would make sense on?
Hmm.
There's a type of people that live there that have these kind of old Western weapons.
Like think about like most major sci-fi franchises that we've seen that mess with
Hmm.
the idea of going to different planets and seeing different cultures, whether they be
Yeah.
alien or human, bringing another culture to another planet. So, like, for example, Firefly, Star Trek, even more recent
Star
Star Wars
Wars.
with
Yeah.
Mandalorian, like you go to these different planets and they all have their vibe, their identity, right? Like in
Yep.
Firefly, there was at one point they end up on like a planet that's like a settler town, like like or early
Mhm.
1900s, like settler type town, and like so like you see different things and that makes sense within that environment. And so my the point I'm trying to make is I'd love to see these environments come in first before the content for said environment starts to come in.
Yeah.
Next on the list we have Orison Relief Support. I have no idea what that is, actually.
I'm right there with you. Like we know what Siege of Orison is. I don't know what Orison Relief Support is. Let's see if there's some kind of Shark CIG. Let me copy this link, send it to you.
Oh, it's just new contracts based on Ninetales. Logistics, medical transport, and material fabrication rather than direct combat. It's gonna
Maybe I
be
gotta.
things, craft this, bring it to somewhere.
Holy shit! Are you kidding me? Maybe I got ahead of myself, Letired.
But
So that Spectrum article I sent you has a bullet point feedback page.
oh, it's still up? I knew it was there. I
This is the
just
first I'm seeing or hearing of this. This was posted July 29th, so I'm a little behind the times.
this I knew about. I thought it was already over.
No, so it's open until August 31st. Fresh off the recent Ninetales raid on Orison, they're asking for support and rebuild, ensure all civilians are back on their feet. This set of missions will task the player with delivering materials, medical supplies, and crafting helpful items, and more. We'd love to hear what you think. A feedback survey is available. No way.
Everybody should participate in that. Absolutely. I will be doing so. Probably do it on stream Tuesday or something like that. If it's open until August
Uh,
31st.
It's
Because
it's
I
nice to see.
do.
I was bitching about it earlier. I might install a game just to do some of those missions to provide some feedback.
Everybody, I
Is
just dropped the
is
link for that in chat. Click on that and it'll take you to the page where you can then click on the link to take you to the actual survey form. So make sure to do that.
this is more like what I was saying earlier. They need to be doing this. Here's this activity. Give us feedback on what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you didn't like, so we can, you know, see what we're doing good and see what's bad,
Hmm.
and do what we can to change it. Oh my god, that's refreshing to see. To be honest, that's wow. It's- and I don't know. I don't know if I've seen this before. And maybe I'm just
They've done it in the
too
past.
green.
Done it in the past. It's
So,
just not super common, for being honest. It's not something that
well,
happens every day.
I'm I'm hoping this becomes more commonplace, and I'll comment on this Spectrum thread and say such. Um, but yeah, it's they need more of this. They need more of this directed feedback. Um, just more structure in when you're trying to create a game and get feedback from the people that play it. So, with that said,
It's yes, it's nice to see. It's hopefully they take it
it's
into account, and then I think as many people as possible need to participate in it. So make sure to click that link. Click that link. All right, next on the list, Recco Battaglia returns. So in-game NPC mission givers, and she's supposed to be instance. And from what I saw in the feedback, is she's not working very well. So I don't know. We'll have to see
so
when that goes
this
live.
is a physical NPC we can go up to, like used to be before. It was before I joined the game, but I know of it. I've seen some videos of it where you can go up to an NPC. There's some dialogue that'll pop up, and you actually have that conversation and get the mission from this person rather than just going into your Moby Glass to grab a mission.
Mm-hmm.
This to me is a better step in the right direction. I've wanted more of this. Like people had mentioned it, and they don't know why it was taken away. Specifically, I've never been given like a specific reason for it. I know it takes a lot for like motion cap, and you have to have a voice actor. Like there's a bit that goes into creating these things and animating them and all. But this to me will bring Star Citizen that step further of actually creating a living, breathing universe, which I feel it has been lacking. Our prior conversation talking about increasing the player counts, that helped, but it still feels relatively dead. And I want to
Well,
be able to go to people like these NPCs and get missions from rather than just go through my Moby Glass.
it almost feels like they were like, for a moment it was going to become Fallout 76 in space. Create your own experience, no NPCs. Like that was a terrible fucking idea, okay? That was the
Yeah.
worst Bethesda idea they've ever had. Uh
Well, if you're
it's
talking in terms of MMO, you need characters, you need all this
you
stuff.
need you need things to drive at least a little bit what people are doing.
Mhm.
If your only engagement with the game is load in, go loot, leave, that's not very interesting. There's nothing to
Yeah.
immerse you. So yeah, having quest giver NPCs is incredibly important. I remember the days of Eckhart and Tessa and forget who else. That you could go see and get stuff from them. I mean, granted, most of the time they were bugged out and didn't work so well. One of the
Hmm.
things that drove me crazy with the Eckhart stuff is you would go to him and there'd be an NPC sitting in front of him, so you could never have the conversation because the NPC would never get out of the spot. You're just like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." But anyways, very
Well,
hopeful that that stuff will make things better. I mean, better in the sense of increasing immersion, giving me a reason to go somewhere to talk to somebody. Maybe at the same time, I grab some stuff from a ship. I can rearm, regroup. Like, give me like I've been playing World of Warcraft again, and even though that is terrible experience right now, mainly because of the story, and because World of Warcraft, which has consistently been a very stable game, now has a bunch of bugs. Anyways, um,
oh, that's really interesting.
yeah, I've
Wonder if they're vibe coding that stuff.
it's it's fucking Claude. Everybody's just using fucking
Right.
Claude to do their shit.
I mean, it's definitely becoming a thing. So I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? But anyways, the point being that I still enjoy having to go talk to somebody to get a quest rather than just grabbing as many quests as I can off of my Moby and having no experience or interaction with certain places because I just don't need to, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I think that
I
kind of stuff they miss the point on, and then they go too deep on like I was watching, I forget what it was, if it was on Spectrum or if it was on Reddit. It was probably Reddit. It was like somebody was like, I work for a logistics company. We don't make the drivers load their own trucks when they come in to pick up shipments. Like, it's like that's terrible and it's a waste of time for everybody involved.
Hmm.
I agree with that. I think it's good to have the option for people to do it. And I know their idea wasn't so much that you would have to do everything yourself, but it was to create these chains where you had some people who were responsible for like getting the cargo, others would be responsible for loading it. But that doesn't, I think we're seeing that that's like, oh, that exists within RP communities or communities who are big into the whole cargo thing and want to help each other out.
Hmm.
But I don't think it's going to make sense on a day to day where you're going to go to a landing area and there's going to be some random player there to just load your boxes. I just don't see that happening. It's happened in
No,
the
I
past,
think that
but
that goes along with your Fallout 76 in space comment, right?
mhm.
Like, and just assuming like, and that's also like, are there going to be that many people playing the game that there's going to be somebody sitting around waiting to load a ship that shows up with whatever cargo that comes up the elevator for 'em? Like, you know, but then that also leads into, okay, now somebody has a job within the game and they come home from their job and they hop on and they clock in and they're loading boxes all freaking, their play session. That is just, I don't know,
Well,
doesn't
I
make
think
sense.
like
So,
and like a tech head makes a good point is if there's a reason for it, like if you're if there's some achievement or specific cargo loading suit locked behind you must complete 20 loading jobs for random players. Uh,
maybe that's how you start off your rep for, Kovalex or whatever. You start loading ships for them.
yeah, I mean that could be a
I
total thing and that would be cool. But they'd
yeah.
have to set up those systems where it's a place where not everybody's going to get ganked because let's be honest, even though like what's going on with Ashlands and Pyro right now for like contested cargo is great for the game, that is still not
Mhm.
what 90% of cargo haulers are looking for.
No, they're looking to
And
make a buck.
they're looking to make a buck. They're not looking to do it with the least amount of risk and the most amount of
Mhm.
reward. And so I think if you have these areas like um uh damn it, distribution centers where you fly your
Yeah.
ship in, there's a player there or an NPC, or you have the option of just doing an auto load or an auto unload. There should be those three possibilities. You should be able to have NPCs help you out, or you should be able to pay a player who's there to do it, or you should be able to just pay a fee and have it auto unloaded or auto loaded. I think
Yeah.
that's super necessary because you're never going to get all people, everyone on board with the same way of doing it. And you're never going to force people who are there for PvP to go spend a few hours loading boxes. You're going to push those players out of the game if you force them to do
Hmm.
that.
I think it would be nice as a way to get the initial rep with a certain manufacturer or well, a certain shipping company, whatever.
Like
Like
intro quest kind of
I
thing.
I go to where Kovalex, yeah, what like an intro quest, exactly. Like you go to where the main headquarters of Kovalex is, you sign up, you get that rep, and then you go up from there. Like, hey, you know, cool. Now you've loaded that ship, whatever you've shown us that you're interested in this, whatever it is, whatever the story is that drives around that. Like here's your next mission, and that's 8 SKU to wherever, or whatever it is, right? And so you become this delivery boy for them, and you're building your rep. I think that would be pretty cool. Um,
I think the idea originally behind the distribution centers was within the distribution centers, and I think they've tried it. I never went to go test it out, but you would
mhm.
be able to move boxes within the distribution center and make money that way. Just be, a box junkie, a box monkey for a day.
Yeah.
And I think as long as it's a part of the beginner stuff and not the entirety of the beginner experience,
Mhm.
that's okay. But once it becomes like I just spent 5 days in a row to get my rep up to the second level, loading boxes in a distribution center and somebody's
No,
hangar,
no,
like I'm ready to
it
just go play something else. Like,
it should be a general intro basic tutorial on how to move boxes with whatever item, like with your multi-tool, with the max lift, with an atlas or something, right?
Hmm.
like a basic tutorial for that, which the game lacks a lot of.
Yeah.
So uh, this would be helpful to newer players. That's also something I kind of wanted to touch on that I saw a video the other day of content creator, but yeah. Um,
No, I think
you
also
mentioned
like, sorry, go ahead.
you had mentioned distribution centers, and I was curious about that because I remember hearing about recent changes, like they added them back in the game, or they changed some locations or whatever where they were, because there were some changes that happened with distribution centers. Do you know anything about that?
Loot went up there. You were supposed to
So,
have some
Luke,
sort of cargo stuff to do. I know some people got into it, but I think there was a lot of issues with you becoming trespassing and stuff like that. So I didn't hear
mm,
too much about it. And the other thing is, it was kind of something that it seems was put in without talking much about, or maybe it was an old system that was supposed to work that came back online and started working.
okay,
It's unclear. I'd have to do a little bit of digging into that. I don't want to just speak out and, make assumptions,
okay, okay, yeah.
but I
That
think
was
that'd be worth looking into because I did know that a few players kind of went back into the distro centers and were having fun with them.
mhm.
I don't think they were ever taken out. I think they've just kind of gone, we'll just say dormant for a few patches.
Yeah, I
Kind of
had
like
gone in
many
there
things.
with Orbital, and the loot tables were dead. And so it was like, okay, well, this isn't fun. I'm coming there to loot, and do the missions that are derived around that, and there just wasn't any sort of reward. You go in, you kill your guy, whatever, you get your monetary reward, but there was no like, hey, it's a new patch. This is somewhere I can go and I can gear up with, like doing bunker runs and stuff. And even bunkers were kind of light on loot as well. So,
I hate to say this, but I have to ask myself if this push to have monthly bundles that they're trying to sell for real money, if it was just a coincidence or if it was purposeful that some of these areas in the game just had no more loot, which were typically easy areas to access, stuff like that. And like, I know
hmm
the loot not spawning in contested zones and exec hangars and stuff like that was definitely not on purpose. But I have to wonder if the overall loot kind of feeling like it was turned down was something that was planned or if it was just purely coincidental. And I don't necessarily think it was, planned out, but I still gotta ask myself the question with how things kind of played out.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. What I've noticed is like the distribution thing. Distribution centers were kind of an activity for a while, and then like ASD and some of these other facilities that we've these POIs that we've been going to, like especially the CZs when those came out in Pyro. There was a focus on going there, right? And you got rewarded with the loot tables. And usually when they move on from those places, the loot tables drop significantly. Um, so there's less of an incentive to go and do that activity, even if you enjoyed it.
Hmm.
But that might be their way of pushing people onto the newer content, um, in a sense of, yeah, forcing them. Like if they're interested in just the loot, that they're going to go and do these activities to get the loot. But I think instead of that, there should be these surveys, man. Like I think we can all agree that we want this game to be successful. We believe somewhat in the dream and can see like in the vision of what it is, and we want to make it better actively. And doing that survey, like we had just gone through, like I would be more interactive in that sense of, okay, I'll go play the new content and I'll fill out the survey. And I really think they need to push that because earlier in our conversation we were talking about how people are just playing, but they're not really taking, like, they're not doing the testing. They're just playing and they're running into the issues and they're are having a hard time with it.
It is hard at times, and
Hmm
it's not smooth. So
Yeah.
Now I am also more inclined to want to go test some stuff out to give, proper feedback. If you haven't done the stuff, almost don't bother giving your feedback, like I'd say, because
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be that
No,
helpful.
I
Uh,
mean, the note there is, hey, playlists, fill out this survey,
mhm. I'm not saying
which I
buy
would
the
be more
game
than
if you
happy.
don't own it, but actually it's a free fly,
Yeah.
so you don't even have to buy the game. But a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff is going to be in the PTU, which people won't have access
Mm.
to. And I still find it so funny to read potential fix instead of just fix.
Like I said, I don't know if that's legalese or something, man,
It
because
is. So they just don't
that's
want to. They don't. They're not trying to guarantee anything. They're just walking on eggshells.
yeah.
Wicklow updates. I mean, those I feel like they're almost useless to go test out in PTU, unless you're given all the materials. Because why would I go spend the amount of time it takes to grind out everything I need for the Wicklow trade to go see if it works? That doesn't make any sense. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's probably not getting much testing. And then it really looks like a bunch of known issues, which probably isn't even a tenth of the list, right now. And then potential fixes, streaming and performance problem with social stations. That would be nice to see something actually make that better, but we'll have to see.
So social stations.
I think that just means cities, towns, armistice zones, basically.
Could be a typo. Could be like the space stations. I don't. Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe this is an internal way they have of calling certain areas and we're just not super savvy of it.
Mhm.
Um, to go back to like Greco Battaglia, I did try out her new contracts.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, they're terrible. I
Well, that
mean,
sucks.
to do
But you didn't go to her and talk to her.
no,
You
you
went
can't
through
yet.
Mumbling
You
Land.
can't yet in life.
Yeah.
So what I did do
Okay.
is I tried out her missions, and two of them are basic. It's a mining mission and I forget what the other one is, the cargo mission, which I'm not that interested in. So I did the combat one, which the idea is interesting. There's a ship, there's a caterpillar and a Cuddy Black. There's some components you can loot from the Cuddy Black. Sometimes it has some cool weapons. Most of the time it's like grade B size 1 and 2 components. They're not great. A lot of times there's some C stuff there, so it's not super worth grabbing unless you're going to sell it. And then you go into the caterpillar, you fight some NPCs, and then you repair the power plant. You leave the caterpillar. It's supposed to fly away. It didn't fly away for me. And then that's it. That's the contract. That's it. That's all of it. And I did that like 3-4 times in a row. I was like, okay, I've seen this now. I've done it. It's not rewarding enough to want to keep going. Like I did like the fact that they understand that what works best in this game is mixing some of these different things to do together, flying somewhere, using EVA, having to loot some stuff off a ship, use your tractor beam, and then go inside, do some FPS combat, and then actually fix something, make us use these, features you have with the multi-tool.
Yeah.
That's great, but it's very repetitive. There's no change to the scenario from one to the next. It feels pretty generic, and I miss the times when we had these awesome contracts that we're not allowed to have anymore because we made too much money apparently, which
Yeah.
was go find
Well,
these ships that have just gotten into combat and are floating around in space all fucked up, take their loot. They they're trying. It feels like they're trying to get back onto that
mhm.
spark that people really enjoyed in the content, but they're far away from it because there's no balance within the economy, and everything feels soupy.
So, how would you compare that to something like ASD or the Rock Breaker event,
I think those are
where
both
you're
fun events. I think those are great. I think what makes the ASD interesting, even though like probably the counter argument is, well, that's very repetitive too. But
Mhm.
the first time you're playing through that chain of 9-10 contracts, you're going different places and having to go a different length into it, and so it plays a little differently. Um,
Yeah,
and
it kind of allows the story to develop. Sure, you're going through the same entrance and you're coming through, and like you're going a little bit further each time. They probably could have, shortened that up a little bit, or they, I don't know.
For me,
That
that actually worked. Like, I honestly,
yeah.
I appreciated the reason to go back, something new to find there. You get a little deeper, you realize there's the environments are a little different. It's a good exploration, at least the
Hmm.
first couple times through. Now,
Yeah.
where I thought it got annoying and that fell into the repetitiveness is find the lab sample. I have never found the freaking lab sample. I am convinced it does not exist. It's not there. It's a lie. This is
That's
purely fabricated to make me go crazy.
the lab sample we found. It's worth quite a bit, but it's an optional piece of the mission. But that requires you to be going through like every loot box. So,
And yeah,
but
I mean,
I
and
think it's an RNG whether it spawns or not. I know Bert himself has found it a couple of times while we played, and him and I went through what probably 100 times is what it
mhm.
feels like. So him and I got fairly efficient at that mission, and we really enjoyed it. So
I mean, ASD
it,
is one of the more positive experiences I've had in
yeah,
this game for sure.
there was a bit of period where like the beginning of the I think the engineering side, trying to get the things connected, was a bit broken. But once it started working again, it. I don't know. It's a fun experience. I still like taking people through it just
Hmm.
because, you know, the build up and going through everything and the different environments and the different puzzles that you deal with. Um, the first half of that mission is really fun, and it really incorporates a lot of features that the game has to offer.
And
So
you're doing different cool things. You're putting body in the biomass things, like you're
yeah,
you're you're X-raying an alien. Like that stuff was objectively cool and fun. Like, thank you very
yeah,
much for that. That was good. Now, to
hmm
move on to Rockbreaker, I think Rockbreaker is so great up until you follow the laser. After that, I feel like the reward is it. There's no reward. It feels
there.
my reward is
Hmm,
I get to go do more work in mine.
the reward to begin with, it really wasn't a reward. You'd go in, you would mine. They had upped, I think, the quality of the rock in there, so now it's like kind of worth it. But it is like compared to the rest of the experience, like firing that laser off is
It's
pretty fucking
awesome.
awesome.
It's dope.
Yeah, and then it's just kind of dull because you're just going mining. After that, there's no, you don't have like NPCs showing up harassing you. There's no like sort of like time limit or anything to pressure you. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Granted, I don't know. Do you want to be pressured while you're trying to do
I
that
think
and
that's a
get the
part of
material
the
and
reward, right? Is now take your
yeah.
time, enjoy your
Hmm.
mining or whatever. But for
Yeah.
me, a rock breaker was such a miss because I love 90% of that mission.
Yeah.
I think it was great. I think it was cool, the
Hmm.
different areas, and looking for things, the having to find the batteries and deal with the enemies and the Valakar, and then I get to go mine now. Fuck. And
Yeah.
for the miners, that's probably great. But for those who just love the FPS experience, yeah, you kind of it's just not worth it. So
Mm.
that was disappointing. I still think the Valakar is great. The problem with the Valakar is it becomes this hotbed for super sweaty tryhard and PvPers, or a lot of the cheaters or exploiters are going to end up there. Like, or also just the place is so bad in terms of desync at times that PvP there just isn't fun. It's either you're super,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have the upper hand because you're the one seeing them before and they're desynced, or it's the other way around and you're screwed. And it's that just isn't enjoyable. But I love the Valakar experience.
Yeah.
Um,
I unfortunately have not had an entirely positive experience there. I've had fun there, but I haven't been able to get through a whole mission because the times that I have gone, I've experienced griefers and stream snipers. So it's always
and
been cut short with that.
that's gonna happen, unfortunately. I've done it a
Yep.
few times, and especially when I do it off stream, it's been fun. But
Hmm.
again, we're talking about the event itself, the other reality that we haven't talked about that we talked about before is we're talking about it of place of like things work. Most of the time,
Yeah.
there's some sort of hurdle to get
Hmm.
past something not working properly. Um,
Sometimes it's small, but sometimes it's really big, and it requires you to exfil and go and try again.
yeah, basically. And yeah, I don't know. But anyways, so the rest of that was just bugs, and we don't have to go into those. But Siege of Orison. Now we talked briefly about the fact that it's instance, but it seems to be within the same server as the rest of
Hmm.
the world sandbox within a shard. Within a server on a shard, I guess is how you should put it. But
Yeah.
it's clearly has it having some issues. Now I hope it comes out to live sooner than later because I don't really want to have to go test all this out in the PTU. I don't like
Hmm.
testing the test environment before it comes into the test environment. Not my thing. Um, so I'm super happy to go test this. I'm super happy to go see what it's like and give my feedback. But yeah, I don't. It feels like it
I,
might need more time to cook, is what I'm saying.
yeah, I think we can all agree that Siege of Orison was a pretty good experience before, like in terms of mission aspect, um, and like just FPS play. Outside of thinking about whatever bugs and stuff you ran into, or if you got harassed while being there. So I'm curious about it because when I did get to do Siege of Orison, I did have a good time, but it was in kind of a rather large group. So it'd be fun to go in with a smaller group and to experience. And as you know, I'm a FPS guy, so like I'm really looking forward to this, and I really do want instancing to work. But I don't know. The way it sounds like it's been implemented is not going to give the best experience.
Oh, that's something I was kind of surprised about. I guess maybe I'm naive, but
Yeah.
I mean, there must
I
be some benefit to instancing it within the same server, but I honestly thought that they would create another server to go on top of all the other ones that would purely handle the instancing. And what you could also do with that is now it's become obvious thinking about this is clearly hangars have always been instanced within the same servers, right? That
Mhm.
or that everybody yeah, that you're on in the town before you go into your hangar. So, which would explain a lot of the times why we see other ships in our hangars, why we get other markers in our hangars, why just random debris sometimes, and just oddness. We're seeing a door open for no reason, coming to your hangar and the door's closed, but you can go through the door because it's somebody else's door. Anyways, just those little things that make it a very odd experience. You could easily, or I don't know, I'm assuming again, this is an assumption. It might not be that easy. I know it's just always easier to say than actually do, but it sounds
Yeah.
like there was a potential there to fix something that has been an underlying issue with instance hangars. Why can't we have and all the instancing be on a separate server within the game shard? Why can't, instead of it being 7 or 8, I forget how many servers are actively running right now within a
Well,
shard, just make it one, just make it one
when
more again. Yes, I understand, but
when it comes to terms of things like that, I personally would not mind a loading screen.
hmm
I'm not gonna complain if I go in an elevator and I have to load into my hangar instance of whatever it is, um, or load out of a hangar instance, we'll say. Um,
well, you already do. That's the elevator ride.
yeah,
That's your loading right there.
yeah, exactly. Which it could be like in terms of having an actual loading screen or whatever. And we've seen interactive loading screens before. So I mean,
I mean, that
pretty
was a
much
running joke
the
in
is
Mass Effect.
yeah.
Longest elevator rides ever because they were loading all the levels below you.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, I mean, playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, right? You hop
mhm.
in the spaceship, you're going to go to this other planet. Well, you're doing your quantum warp, but that's an interactive loading screen. You can still go around the ship, but it's actively loading where you're going to land. Of course, it goes through the landing animation and everything, but like I wouldn't mind that in terms of certain aspects of the game. If there's some kind of cinematic pulling into Siege of Orison, because it is a canned experience, right? It's
Mhm.
going to play out the same each time. I'm okay with that because I'm going to go and I'm going to grind this event for whatever loot. Like if there's a loot drop, whatever, because it's, like an RPG, you're going to try to get these things. And maybe you have to play it a couple of times to get it or whatever. Or you're playing with friends and you're doing it again and helping them through it. Whatever it is. I'm okay if I have to load into an instance. And I think a lot of other people could agree, especially with like, the majority of people having SSDs today and load times in terms of like load speeds
Hmm.
shouldn't be that bad, you would think.
No. And I mean, I'm hoping Siege of Orison is a step in the right direction, more in terms of content.
Mm-hmm.
I- Honestly, I think though, if we're going to talk about the stability and the performance of it, I think if it isn't an increase in performance compared to just being in the verse, that's a failure. It has to be seen as a failure, because otherwise, what's the
Mm-hmm.
point of instancing?
Yeah. If it doesn't improve the experience, it's not worth it. So hopefully, I mean, if that's the case and they feel that way, hopefully they'll change it to the way that we would assume would work better,
Again,
where it's a
that's
dedicated server.
again, we're making assumptions, but I don't think our assumptions are too insane. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no.
again, we're not
Look,
aware of the resources that CIG is dealing with, but that's not our role to be aware of them. Our role is to play the game, test the game according to them, and that's, I mean, we're well within our role by criticizing this and saying, hey, honestly, it's got to be a jump in performance. It can't be less. You know what I mean? It can't be
mhm.
worse. Like, you can't give us
Yeah.
something that's instance that's just works worse. Now, okay, I will say this though. I was blown away. So like I said, I've been playing World of Warcraft again a little bit, and I went into a dungeon solo with, they've got they're called follower dungeons or follower delves, where you go in with
Yeah.
an NPC you're playing with and you go through the
Mhm.
dungeon with them. I ran into the most insane desync I've ever seen in World of Warcraft. Like, I've never seen this before. It was so bad that my attacks, if I was lucky, would happen 5 seconds after I told my character to do them. And that's if they
Yeah.
happen at all. There were just entire times, stretches of like 15, 30 seconds where I'm staring at an enemy and just not doing anything. Because so maybe what we used to think as being the easiest thing in gaming, okay, sorry, again, embellishing a little bit, exaggerating a little bit, obviously, is this, none of this is easy, but what
No,
used to be
yeah.
something that was a given, or like something that is, a standard in gaming, uh somehow is just getting worse again and just falling apart. So maybe I'm
Mhm.
wrong to assume that it'll be better for Star Citizen to go instance compared to the other thing, but again, we're instancing because the amount of players on these shards communicating within servers, crossing between servers, is a huge heavy load on the game, right? So
Yeah.
I'm okay, I'm absolutely okay with instancing if it helps relieve some of the load. And I think to
Well, in
constantly want it to be what they claim it'll be eventually right now is unreasonable.
in the terms of Siege of Orison, again, like I said, this is a canned experience. It should, you know, from front to end, it should be the same experience, so to speak, in like, hey, this is what we've mapped out to do, right?
Mhm.
There shouldn't be any persistence there.
Or just
So
within the instance. It shouldn't persist after you leave the instance.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. There shouldn't be like if I go there and I leave a bottle or whatever, like and I go back to do another run, I shouldn't see that same bottle. It should start over and we go through the experience again. I think we've all experienced that in gaming and I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
Nope.
So there shouldn't be any sort of persistence. It should be a server that's dedicated to running this this game event that you go from say the live server into this instance server, you have your experience and you come back out with however way they see fit for entering and exiting that. So
I think, well, so there were some positive changes made for 4.9 when it comes to the PES and the cleanup. Ships now should only persist for 5 hours before they start getting cleaned up at random landing zones and stuff like that, which huge. Now, again, I think they can also do that with bottles and things like that. Running around yesterday, I still saw a ton of shit all over the place. We don't necessarily
I
need all
I
that.
I don't think a bottle should persist more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
If it's
you
empty,
know,
especially if you like drop a full bottle and you want to come back and find it, that's one thing. But an empty piece of trash, like, no,
yeah.
we're not trying to recreate the spaceport scene in Fifth Element. You know what I mean? Like,
hmm
we don't need that. Definitely don't need that. But no, I
No.
think my hopes are not. I'm hopeful for Siege because that was always one of my favorite events to do in the game before it got taken
Yep.
out or it wasn't
My
coming back anymore.
Yeah, and like kind of like you had said, maybe this is naive or whatever. My imagination or what I thought an instance would be was what we've already discussed several times over. But I figured I would go into this instance, and the desync wouldn't be as bad because I'm on a dedicated server, and the issues with inventory would pretty much mostly go away. Like, and that was high hopes. Like you wouldn't have like it would all be pretty much instant. I go into a loot box, I grab it, I throw it in my bag, and there's no issue. I don't have to do that several times over and over again because I'm not on a server that's also having to see Timmy throw the bottle out the back of an Idris as he's flying or low flying it or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I figured these instances would help that first person, uh, just that first person gameplay experience in those types of missions. Because we've been in CZs, you've dealt with desync there, or just in other first person missions where desync has your enemies jumping all over, like, and they're hitting you through stuff, or like they're stuck in a wall, whatever it is, right? Like, at least this should be a canned experience where I know I can go and have a good time, and there'll be very minimal interruption.
Well, you'd hope so, and I really do hope it's an for me, yeah, it really does have to be an increase in FPS. It has to be a more stable experience. Because if not, then what's the freaking point? You know what I mean? Like,
There's literally no point at that point. Like, if it doesn't create a more stable, like, you're on the live server and you're just flying around at like Stanton or whatever, like, if it doesn't increase performance there as well as in the instance, it just doesn't make sense.
no, no, it really doesn't. So, all right, that's guess wraps it up on Siege. Um, are you hopeful for anything? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Do you think we'll be in a better place by the end of the year with Star Citizen?
Mm, to me, there's two roads there. If they add more features, no. If they continue to hash out the issues they have with the current feature set that they have, which, I mean, they're already adding instancing, but if they hold off on the features and they continue on focusing on the stability and the performance of things, like getting rid of ships after 5 hours or other persistent items, whatever that is, um, I think it will be in a better place. But if they can continue pushing the envelope at the cadence that they are, they're just introducing more problems into the game than they can, for the size of studio they are, take care of. So things will get worse, not necessarily better, or it'll kind of stay the same or get worse in a sense until they have the time to go after these issues. um, and then I think to the future. I think, okay, if we're having this kind of issue with persistence, how's the game going to act when they have base building and they have to keep that sort of level persistence in the game? And you're going to have to you go to a planet, somebody's built a base there, and you got to load all that stuff in, and it's got to be persistent. Like, how's that going to work? And you have
That's a great
hundreds of these
question.
players. You got hundreds of these players. Like you're on an instance and they log in, all their stuff's got to load in. So how is that going to work? How's the base building going to work? Are you going to be locked to a certain server?
No, I think the idea from last I looked into it is it's going to persist over different servers, and I think they were messing with the idea of is it locked to a specific shard, and if people want to raid you or whatever, they get taken to that shard, but it can be seen in all shards, or is it's I think they haven't answered that question yet.
So then the bigger question is, what if somebody else builds another base over where you are currently at, which could happen. It's definitely within the realm of possibility. So what happens? What happens if they're both on the same, like, they both load into the same server? Like how does it decide whose base I see? So like to me,
That's a
that
good
is another
question.
big question, and it's yeah, like it creates a lot of issue unless there's like land claims, which were a thing, and I have this set land on this planet in this system, and so across all shards you can't build there because somebody owns that, which isn't how it's been explained to players. It's kind of fly wherever and create your home where you want to, kind of like No Man's Sky.
Well, I
So
think that applies to somewhere like Pyro, where there's no UE control. Like that's more the Wild West. Go put up a claim wherever. But I think in
mhm.
the heavily policed systems like Stanton, you will not have that possibility. I mean, first of all, you can't do it on Area 18 or ArcCorp. That's just impossible.
Right. Well, I build my house on top of this on top
Skyscraper.
of the skyscraper. Yeah.
So that's not a thing. All right, so we had some questions. Let's go back and see. Here's a question. Do we think the release date on the information that we know could be for Squadron 42? What release date specifically are you talking about? Because I haven't seen a release date. There have been rumors that it'll be around the release date for the original Wing Commander, which was like September 29th or something like that. But I haven't seen anything about a release date. The only thing I've seen related to Squadron 42 involving dates is the event, second or third week of October, with the content creators and whales that are going to be participating in the playtest. So I haven't seen anything else. It is, yeah, it's October. Uh, yeah, exactly. So those rumors I think are untrue. And yeah, I highly doubt we'll see the game released before the event. Another one. With the content in Star Citizen at the moment, would you rather play with a buddy and just mess around the verse or play solo? I guess for me personally, I'd still always rather play with friends, but
So the question with content in Star Citizen at the moment, would you rather play with a buddy or just mess around with solo? Um, the thing about Star Citizen that they really hit off, and I think the best part about Star Citizen is the sense of community. Um, the player base is for the most part very friendly and welcoming in, and especially new players as well, and showing people around the verse. And so for me, if I'm going to hop on, it's going to be with a friend or friends, to just go mess around or do what somebody wants to do to help them out or whatever it is. Um, it's not going to be so much solo, just based off of my past experiences and the amount of time that I would have to put in the game to go do something solo and have it go wrong. The only thing there's not gonna be anything that's gonna keep me there if something goes wrong when I'm a solo. I'm just gonna quit out of the game and let that be my play session. If I have friends around, I'm probably more inclined to get back to where they are to continue the activity that we were doing.
yeah, I don't see. I mean, if we're talking about what's best to do in game, if you absolutely have to play right now, low flying, cargo hauling seems to be what most people are going to right now. Um, but yeah, I would always rather play with others, especially something like this, which is an MMO, than play solo all the time. Now, I do love this game solo, but like you said, dealing with the frustration solo compared to dealing with others, yeah, I don't think I would last very long. All right, another question. From what you saw, the Star Citizen vision to begin with, has it upheld that vision to you as a player when you first joined compared to now? Or because I mean, when I first joined, it was still pretty bare bones. I mean, 317 is still touted as one of the best patch cycles ever in Star Citizen, but that was still pretty bare bones. Um, for me, the real vision is, just the freedom you're supposed to have in space. Um, but right now, your your decisions have no weight. They mean nothing. They're not tied to anything. And again, I think it would be stupid to have people start doing that before we're in 1.0, especially since
Hmm.
people are obsessed with the idea of keeping all their progress into 1.0. I have
Yeah.
no I get maybe it's because I'm a Tarkov player and I got used to the wipes every 6 months, but I have no problems with starting off fresh in 1.0. I don't really want to carry over too many things to 1.0. I think there's already going to be a huge problem with balancing when it comes out. You'll have people who have tons of ships, tons of armors, tons of weapons. They'll never be in, even if they're starting off with 20k, they will not be in trouble for gear. They might get in trouble for med pens and ammo, but let's be honest, if you've been following every month and doing the events and the drops on Twitch, you shouldn't have any reason to complain when 1.0 comes out because you'll have weapons, armor, all that stuff. So I think just there on the FPS side, there's going to be an issue. And I think, people starting with a Legatus pack compared to people starting with a base starter pack, there's going to be issues. I'm very curious how they're going to approach that, but if I'm looking at the promised experience, that's the part that I think we're not talking about enough is what's the game going to play like in 1.0? Like we've always talking about all these features, we're always talking about this content that we're waiting for, but the balance, I think, and how the game's going to play as a multiplayer game is something we're not at all talking about enough or being told anything about because let's be frank, they probably have no clue what that looks like.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll use a specific example. Ship combat right now feels terrible. If you're in a
I
fighter fighting anything other than a fighter, man, it's bad.
yeah. I haven't gotten to experience that yet.
Like I love ship combat in this game, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
Even with molasses modes, it still is enjoyable. It has its moments, but it's
I
it
haven't heard
is
it called that. Molasses Modes is so on point.
You know what? To me, the best fighter in the game,
The Perseus. That is the best purchase I have in the game is the Perseus.
I always go out and have fun in that game. So, or not that game, but that ship. And I hope it's never nerfed. And I hope it's kind of like the gold standard for balance because I really feel that ship is a lot of fun.
It is. And it's
It's
gotten a little
extremely fun.
heavier in 4.9, by the way. It feels a little heavier.
Heavier,
It's not
Like
as
maneuverable,
yeah, it's not as
maneuverability
easy to
wise.
stop on a dime, or it's a little less maneuverable, which I'm okay with. It's still good.
Hmm.
And it feels a bit more realistic in the sense that it is a heavy ship. It should take a second for it to do anything. It shouldn't be as bad as a Polaris or an Idris, but um it's
Yeah.
still up there. But no, I
Okay.
mean, I'm not too I think talking about the vision sold compared to where we are right now is a dangerous conversation because it's either you kind of feel like they're just way too far behind and it's unacceptable to have promised so much and have delivered so little over the years, or you understand and you're okay with that, but you're just enjoying the ride as it is and you're not in a hurry to get to the end product. But I don't know. At the end of the day, the only way we'll know if it really lives up to, what they've said is what they deliver in 1.0. So, people are still very excited for Planet Tech to come in. I think the logical order of things will be Planet Tech comes in, systems get a little bit of a revamp, and then we'll see base building potentially. So another year or two for me, realistically, before that comes in game. Now, here's something that I've heard talked about a little bit recently. Is we people, they're not talking about a 5.0. So once we're done with this 4.x patch cycle, theoretically we're going straight into 1.0. But or we're going into beta, and then we'll go into 1.0 or be beta 1.0, whatever the hell they'll call it. Well, who knows?
I was just talking to my mod this morning on our hike
Mm-hmm.
about how that article that came out several months ago now, and Chris Roberts was talking, and he really made 1.0 sound like beta.
Yeah. He beta
Oh,
will be important, but I mean, we're so far away from beta. We don't have most of the
We are.
features they want in for 1.0. We're missing 2.5 systems for 1.0 on their,
Yep.
less
There's a lot
scaled
of
or on the more scaled down version of a 1.0. I mean, there's a lot of work that still has to come into these things. I mean, and we're talking about things that still have to come in. That's doesn't even start the conversation on everything they have to fix that's already in. That'll be
Mhm.
probably most of the beta experience will just be getting through all these bugs and rewriting systems and hopefully having better code base.
So, I mean, to get to the nitty gritty, do you feel it's been upheld or not? Versus what it is now to versus, from what it is now to when you first joined.
I mean, no, we still have a long ass way to go, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Clearly.
To me, for me, I've seen a lot of stuff get implemented, and I started playing in 2024. And so that's been, we'll just say it was the end of 2024. So we'll just count 2025 and where we are in 2026. And I've seen a decent amount of progress, but I've also seen a increase in just bugs and just issues,
Yeah.
we'll say. So they are adding features. Does that hold up to the vision that was promised? Not necessarily, because I've seen things that were promised that still aren't in today and probably never will be. They still have ships that are
Yeah.
JPEGs that aren't even physicalized in the game yet for people. And that's supposed to have a whole economy system around it that doesn't exist. So it is a very hard question to answer with a yes or no, but to me currently, no, it doesn't hold up. It is a very unique game. They do have some, some cool features, but they've got a lot to work on to get it into a state that's way more playable.
More and more, I believe that's what people latch onto. It's like, oh, there's nothing
Mhm.
that does this. Yeah. Just because they do something that others don't doesn't make it the Messiah we all hope it is. You know what I mean? Like this
True.
This might not be the golden child that we're all hoping it is, but it does look fun. I agree.
The game looks great. It doesn't look like an alpha at all until you play it.
Yeah, doesn't look like it, but under the
Mhm.
hood, it's like,
Right?
it's like you're expecting a tiger, but you're getting a kitten. It's like,
Meow.
it's like you're expecting the roar, but it's like meow, meow.
Appreciate you, Blitz.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel it's really dim right now, and I'm not trying to discourage people from continuing to follow this game, I do want to discourage you from opening up your wallets. I definitely think that's
Yeah.
important, especially with things being tight and tough. But we can all make our life better by making better purchases and more
Well,
sensible, spending.
it's okay. So it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword on funding the game and stuff. You want to see them push forward. You want to see them succeed, especially with these promises. But at the same point in time, we've seen what I feel is mismanagement in the game and its progress, and just with the issues we're seeing as players in this game. So with them having a couple of record years, last year being a record year and 2026 showing to be a record year, there's no incentive for them to push harder than they are now.
Mhm.
And to fix things, because all the sales numbers are showing them, hey, people believe in us. People believe in this game. People are having a good time. People are investing in this. But there's no pressure now because they're making lots of money. So that goes towards, well, let's make more ships.
Well, yeah, because that's the
Because those are
funding
selling
model
well.
that is clearly
Mhm.
become their make new ship, new armor, new paint, sell that every month, rinse and repeat. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, there's some content that came out. Go give it a try, but more importantly, get this ship.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
but at the same
it's
time, I have to, I guess, push back a little bit in the sense because, like, I think what you're trying to, or at the end of the day, it's the idea is if we stop funding it, they might collapse and the game will never become what it's supposed to be because,
Mhm.
well, we've stopped giving it money. But because they are completely backer funded, because they don't owe money really to most people, like I said, or like we talked about before stream, is they have some private funding, but that represents not even a tenth of what they received, right? It's
Yeah.
it's less than that. It's like 1/12 or 1/13, whatever the exact thing comes out to be. But the point
it's
there is
minuscule compared to what they've made off of ship sales.
exactly. So
Yeah.
or just selling game packages or JPEGs or armor or whatever. But it's it can still collapse. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
However, I don't think it's fair to let people live under the idea that if they stop opening their wallets, this might fall apart and disappear. All we've seen is them, like you just said, double down on marketing and not on pushing a good game. The problem with that is you can sell someone a dream pretty easily, especially people nowadays. Nowadays, critical thinking is just thing of the past. So they will just purely feed into their emotions and the desire and the impulse to buy because they've all been well drilled on that in every single facet of their lives for quite a while now. This
Mhm.
ultra consumption that we have, and that's
Well,
a
and
very separate, that's the whole entire nest of, but to get to
but
just wrapping my point is it's still not acceptable if they're not doing well with the game. We should not be giving them more money because like you said, it just feeds into their thinking that everything's fine. Why the hell should we worry? Well, screw these guys yelling on Spectrum and talking shit on Reddit or making YouTube videos and talking crap on Twitch and Kick and YouTube and Rumble or wherever the hell else you might be able to stream on, or on X or whatever it is. Like, who cares? We're making money hand over fist, and as long as they're smart enough to keep their year over, their expenses every year under, what their lowest projections of revenue are, then they'll be just fine. I think that mentality is dangerous because you then feel like it's a necessity for you to give them more money. Like if I don't do this, I'm not doing my part.
Mhm.
And I don't agree with that. No, doing your part is being critical, is rewarding when it's justified. So you reward when things are going well, not when things are not going well. And that's what kind of throws me off about what's been going on in the last couple months is 4.8 drops. It's a shit show. I mean, really only the biggest shills or would say, no, it wasn't that bad. Anyways, whatever. Don't listen to those people. But the biggest funding month ever, and that happened over the 24 48 hours of the Odin sales. Like, so that was a huge factor. Then you add in that there was IAE. Then you add in, like, it just was mind blowing to me that I think it was 45 million in that month, basically.
Oh, IAE this year or whatever. Drake Defense Con. Drake Defense Con was crazy this year.
Oh yeah, defense.
That's also the Odin came out around that time too, I believe, right?
That is exactly when. So I was confusing ILW, which became DefenseCon this year, because we didn't get Invictus with IAE, which is November. So wait, hold up. Where's the Star Citizen funding tracker?
Yeah, it's yeah, there's no incentive for them to push harder.
So I mean, you remove that incentive, you let them think that their shit smells like flowers, and yeah, you start to end up in a situation where you feel like there's this big disconnect. And I mean, this isn't up to date.
Oh my god,
this can't see. Look at that, 45 million in just the month of May.
They did have some expensive ships that were highly sought after. They had the Odin, they had the Ironclad, which when the Ironclad released was a dumpster fire. And then what else was there? There was something else.
Iron Duds. There was most recently the Basher, Raylan. Before the Basher was the Raylan. Before the Raylan was the Iron Chuds. Before that was the
M80. The M80 came out. That's a $300.
Yeah.
That's a $300 ship.
Heavy Fighter, which is insane. Mizo Rishira. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher that. Mizo. If you haven't checked out the
Pitbull?
CCU game,
Yeah.
if you absolutely must, open your wallet. Start checking out the CCU game. It'll help you save the most towards getting whatever ship you want. That's how I got my Perseus. A lot of people have saved tons of money that way. And I mean, savings in terms of like you can save 50 to 70% on a ship if you do it right. So just be aware of that. But what's up? Welcome in. So 45 million and arguably the shittiest month of gameplay we've had since 4.0 back in January of 2025. And then before that, 318, which is somewhere here in 2024. Oh, terrible. Terrible.
Which overall that year with 318, they lost 1% of revenue.
Yeah. And then we cracked the $1 billion mark this year. Last year, 155 million, which is insane. So IAE, comparably, actually, IAE would have been a better month than May this year for DefenseCon if you take out the Odin sales. Take out the Odin sales, it's probably a little lower than they made last year at IAE. So yeah, they're gonna sell the Odin more. And again, I just would like to remind everybody that you are buying a JPEG that was not built in Engine, it was built in Blender. Not any part of it is functioning in game or even being developed remotely as a concept in the engine. So, I mean, I would take that $5,000 and put it into some ETFs on the stock market and watch that grow, get a much bigger return, turn that 5K into more money by the time the Odin actually comes out and is viable. But I know what the argument is. Yeah, but then it'll be $10,000 to buy the Odin instead of 5, and that's.
Why do you need to buy it? Do you have 66 friends that'll jump on the game with you?
I don't know. I personally I do not. So I don't see myself getting the Odin.
So, does that also come with a shard rental? Do I get a shard rental with that so I can run that ship in the server? Because
no, you will be your own moving dynamic server. The
Okay,
Odin will
alright,
be
hang
its
on.
own server
That's why
flying
it costs
through
so much.
the verse.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, a digital asset that could be sold infinite times, they only want to sell a couple at a time because of FOMO. So,
But I think, Devils makes a point is I think everybody wants to solo an Odin, so
oh, dude, I mean, if I get control of those 12 lasers that come off the front, please, I'll take an Odin.
just people
Kidding.
jousting an Odin.
I'm just gonna,
Thanks,
I'm gonna melt everything on my account. I'm gonna get just an Odin. All right. What's the it's 5K war bond? It's like 6K store credit.
Shit, I could do so much about that. I mean, I could pay off pretty much all my debt. I could start setting up a Roth IRA. I could, increase my amount invested into stock and increase my returns and dividends every month. Like, there's so much smarter shit to do with your money than buy an
Mhm.
Odin. Put if you have kids, put $5,000 in your kid's college account. That's $5,000 plus interest that worth less of debt your kids will probably have by the time they come out of college. So there's so many better things to do with that. But people will spend their money however they want. I think we are definitely as a culture now very much way too comfortable spending money when we don't need to. I've been really trying to personally remove that from my life and be a bit more critical of my spending because I want to have a better future. I want to, meet somebody and have kids one day and be able to be like, fuck yeah, I can do this, and not holy shit. All right, let me tighten up this belt. I know you, sir, have kids, so you can probably relate. Like,
yeah, I don't think there's you can probably be financially prepared to have kids, but until you have kids, or maybe you take care of kids all the time,
you don't
parenting
know.
is just something that you get into and you have to learn on the job. At least that's been my experience. And yes, kids are very expensive. So
yeah. So, there's tons of things. Or I'd like to be able to start putting more money aside now. That's kind of what I'm trying to do in order to maybe be able to retire sooner and not work until I'm 70 or 75 or 80, whatever it might be by the time I get there. So yeah, just being smarter with your money. But more importantly, within this conversation, to bring it back to Star Citizen, is I just don't believe in rewarding poor performance and bad behavior. What is poor performance? Poor performance is servers having a really tough time, is basic features not working, the amount of bugs you have to deal with on a daily being just way too high for it to be truly something you want to invest your time into every day. And then, on the other hand, I just don't reward bad. And then what is the bad behavior? The bad behavior is not being completely honest on how things are being developed, what's being prioritized, and more importantly, not apologizing. Because apologizing is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength. And all I saw was a very weak CIG refusing to apologize for something that they then spent an hour and a half explaining is something they've been aware of. They know it's an issue. They didn't think it would get this bad, but it did. So again, just
yeah, and that goes into the mismanagement of things.
Yep, exactly. So love the dream. Hope it works out. I'm not here again. I was starting to find it funny that certain content creators in their videos are always saying, "I'm not here to shit on the game. I want to see this succeed."
Like
I was
you
like,
have to have
I'll never be like
some
that. Fuck, I'm
some
like
kind
that
of
now.
note. Yeah, well, look, we're just stating how we feel about the game in its current state. This is ever evolving. Things could get better. Things could also get much worse.
And
So in
I
its
hope
current
it gets
state,
better.
I agree. And I've got a substantial amount of time and money that have been invested in this game, and over the last year, I have had my moments that I've enjoyed, but I have patience wears thin, and I've been worn down, and I hope to see a bit more effort and progress in the fields that really matter most as somebody who plays the game. And I hope they continue with the structure. I hope they come up with a structure where they are constantly polling and surveying the player base to get better feedback so we can see more progress in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of the basics we should expect from them, right? And
Mhm.
I'll just wrap it up by saying I still am adamant about this. I hope everybody understands that the biggest thing playing against Star Citizen and CIG is not the game itself, it's not Star Engine, it's not Squadron, it's not the player base. It's their decisions and the amount of time it's taking to get where we are, and the amount of time it'll probably take us to get to somewhere that truly is better. And, we briefly touched on it earlier, but I do hope we are in a better place in December at the end of this year than we are now in beginning of August. And yeah, I love this game. I hope it gets better. I hope it really comes into its own. I hope the devs, get that light bulb that goes off and the content gets to be more enjoyable and not so repetitive and generic. I hope all these things, I want to see them happen, but right now it's not where it should be. It's not in a good place, and they're making a lot of money for something that is just performing less and less. So we'll see where we are in December. But yeah, thank you, Cody, for joining. Thank you, chat, for
Thanks.
hanging out.
Thanks for having me, sir. Appreciate you. Awesome chat today.
Of course, always love chatting with you. Love having these podcasts. Also, I'm going to be bringing back the gaming podcast, just overall gaming, not just Star Citizen. It's time to talk about the rest of the industry as well. Shit on them and not just CIG all the time. But thank you everybody for joining. Make sure to go give this fantastic human being a follow if you haven't already. He is a genuinely fun human being to be around and good guy. So make sure to go show Cody some love.